It's the Bennington Show, Thursday morning. We're all here. I'm Ron Bennington. There's Gail Bennington.
Yo.
And I'm Ron Bennington. I was just explaining to Jen who the great Jimi Hendrix was, even though she's 1/3 same heritage as Jimmy. Never looked into him at all. Never.
No, but I have heard the name, and
Yeah.
you know, his name has come up in a lot of movies I've seen.
It should.
Yeah.
It should come up in every single movie. Now, also, talking about movies, this shocks me because I felt like I knew you, Chris Stanley.
Yes.
But you only recently saw the film To Live and Die in L.A.
I saw it last weekend, and it was fantastic. And you've been talking about it. The song's great. You talked about it for years. I finally saw it. It's so goddamn good.
I don't know why I had in my mind it the first time I brought it up. You didn't run out and see it again, but it is one of the jobs, the criminal jobs that you would like to have.
Oh, hell yeah.
And that is a counterfeiter, because you really don't feel like you're hurting anybody. You know what I mean? Like, you're not pointing a gun at anybody.
Yeah, this is, in many ways, a victimless crime.
Well, it isn't a victimless crime because our government is supposed to stand on, you know. There's very few crimes that I've ever seen them work as hard to stop. Because if you look at, like, what dollar bills and hundreds and fifties look like, let's say in the 80s.
Right.
And what they look like now, they're incredibly different.
They're insane. And you remember, like, the more updates they had to money, and you're just like, well, I'll never get used to this stupid monopoly money.
Immediately.
Like, if I see a green dollar, I'm like, that looks weird.
Now,
strange.
What is strange is that they can't get us off money because there's no reason to use it anymore. You have a card that could be a debit card. This could be 100%, but people like money. I'd rather have money. I have money in my pocket because a card to me means spend it all. That doesn't mean anything. But money, I'm look, I just gave him 2 of these fucking 20s.
I know.
This is all I'm getting back.
That's why it's scary, because phones will just be the new way to spend money.
That's even worse than a credit card.
Your phone is a credit card now.
So, like, when I swipe a card, it still does kind of feel like money. But if I call a Lyft, I don't feel like I've spent any money. And I could spend $50 on a Lyft ride and be like, well, that was never money. So it doesn't matter.
I do. I'm the same way. I'm the same way with Uber and Lyft. I like, take me any way you want to go.
Ooh, a surcharge. Well, at least it's free.
Yes. As long as the surcharge is free, I'm fine with it. Now, Live and Die in L.A., Willem Dafoe is in it. Another thing, if you've never seen the film before, and by the way, it did not do well.
Really?
When it came out. It was a flop. They claim that the leads weren't stars. Willem Dafoe was not yet a star, kind of not really known. But the two leads, the two cops.
Like William Peterson, I think, was one of them.
William Peterson had to wait a few years before he became a TV star. But it's also a movie where you think you're following one guy and then you're following the next guy, you know what I mean? So you really never know how to react. But Willem Dafoe, who's kind of feminine, and then his chick has masculinity about her, that there's a weird thing that goes on with them that's very sexual.
Oh, hell yeah.
Very, very sexual. But then also one of the great chase scenes in the modern era, because you don't really see them much anymore.
Yeah. It doesn't happen because it's practical effects, because they're really using cars and they're really going down a highway.
Yes, and that even now you don't have a great need for chase scenes because traffic is so bad everywhere that the chase is over within seconds.
Too many humans.
One of the great chase scenes of all time, French Connection, takes place in New York City, where he's actually racing against the subway. But you wouldn't have that anymore. You don't need it.
Now, the weird thing is, for me, a lot of times a car chase can... It's not that it bores me, but I tend to just, like, lean out of a car chase.
Yes.
However, a foot chase in a movie is much more exciting to me than a car chase, because a car chase tends to just get, like, this gets smashed, and then I'm losing.
I'm going to give you the difference why you'll like to live and die in a LA car chase. And your point is well made. What you don't want is the confident driver and seeing guys get out. These guys are driving like, who the fuck are they? Who are they? Jesus Christ. Like, they're so scared.
Right.
And these are terrible people.
Yeah.
And you're fucking scared for them. You just want them to get away.
Right. Because it's actually realistic rather than like, and I also happen to be an incredible driver.
Yes, I'm one of the best drivers in the world.
Now, we, not too long ago, just rewatched the movie Con Air. And there is a crazy car chase in that where it's like he's on a bus, he's like, and you're going, well, why is this guy able to pull this off without killing everybody?
Yeah, I believe everybody in LA died at the end of that. No, it was in Vegas. They were in Vegas. And for some reason, they hit every scenic thing there was to hit in Vegas.
Convenient.
Now, a foot chase sometimes can work. Raising Arizona was like a comedic foot chase, and you're seeing it through
the
character's eyes, and that's a great one. What was the foot chase that you liked?
The movie Brick. So that was, what is the name? Joseph
Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, and Lucas Haas is in that movie, and there's a really intense foot chase that I remember thinking, like, my heart was going, and I'm like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? And I was thinking, wow, I don't even get like this big car chase scenes never get me like this, but I was like tense and terrified during it.
Have you seen French Connection?
I have seen French Connection, yeah.
And what'd you think of that car chase?
Great.
One of the great.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Now, when I was also young, and most of these would come on TV, but it was the Steve McQueen fucking car chases, which was in San Francisco, so the car is in air a good part of the time.
That's Bullet. I think Bullet was the one.
Bullet,
it's
yeah.
fucking amazing.
But there was also like just a movie genre of those days, and Tarantino went back in his Death Proof to take a look at this. But movies like Crazy Mary and Nutty Larry, whatever the fuck they were, where you would go to the drive-ins and you're sitting in a car and you're just watching non-stop car chases.
Cars getting destroyed.
Burt Reynolds, of course, a race across the country, like it was Wacky Racers.
Duel was a great race. I mean, that was pretty much, he was being chased down.
Yeah, he was being chased by a truck, Duel, which is Jaws as a truck. And it really was. I mean, if you watch, he did Duel before Jaws, and if you watch it, that is just a giant shark with wheels.
Right.
And we never figured out who was driving.
No.
I mean, it was fucking brilliant. Yeah. Why it happened, there was no reason for it. But he was relentless. He would not give up.
And for a while, isn't there like a thing where you almost think it's in his head because like it's not really clear if he's chasing him at first, and then eventually like he is chasing him.
He definitely is. McLeod was right about everything that he was upset about.
Yeah, it's funny. Is like you were saying the French Connection. I think also like maybe for the same reason you said, classic films tend to have like. They're more exciting for some reason.
Look, when I was watching Death Proof, because they had that stunt actress, that Australian stunt actress, and she was on the front of the car while they were racing like that, I was standing up in the theater. Now, I had to think to myself, I'm like, this little girl's going to get killed. But they had already finished it, probably 9 months to a year before I'm watching it.
Right.
But my heart was beating on my chest. She was fearless.
It was terrifying.
She in fact, was Death Proof. From what I understand, that's the biggest and best movie of Quentin Tarantino's career.
Is it?
Everyone always complains about it. But I find it watchable.
Yeah, definitely. I think people seem to like Planet Terror more than
that's
Death Proof.
That's crazy.
You think?
Yes.
Yeah.
Planet Terror.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not.
Planet Terror is not
watchable.
It's not. It's not.
It's really fucking like when once the theater was very like hyped to see it, to see Death Proof, to see double feature. I was like, this is great. Then I rewatched it a few years later, and just like the fucking leg gun is just so insane.
I don't. Robert Rodriguez has that TV channel now, right?
Right, the El Rey Network.
The El Rey Network, where he kind of uses Basquiat's crown, but we're not supposed to know. And that network is filled with these kind of shows that we're talking about.
Right.
Where you're just watching these southern sweaty drivers sweating around.
Dirtbags.
There's always a really untrustable sheriff.
Oh,
like
yeah.
people act like, oh, we're not, we don't respect cops. Now, 1970s films, whether they were these like redneck films or the blaxploitation films, which El Rey also runs, and they're unbelievable. But you could never trust a single cop.
They're all corrupt, 100%.
Yeah, I guess I never really thought about that. That is like maybe one of the biggest movie tropes ever is
Bad cops?
is crooked cop. Yeah, I mean it's pretty common.
It's because it's true in real life, too.
I just had Witness on the other day, and it pretty much made the entire Philadelphia police force. Like, okay, your superior is a crook and a killer. There's no one you can call. You can't even call the Philadelphia Inquirer. You can't trust anyone but an Amish lady who, you went a little too far with. I mean, she's Amish.
She doesn't know better.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like special needs.
it is. It's almost like, hey, she said she wanted to. Yeah, but she didn't know what it meant.
She doesn't get it. She wasn't educated about her body.
Yeah, that's Chris's main thing on Tinder.
No.
What?
That he's looking for.
You're
He always
Amish trolling?
He's always saying he's looking for Amish or special needs.
Oh my God.
I ride into the Amish country and see if anything pops up.
You're just hoping for a Rumspringa.
Speaking of special needs, I treated Chris to a slice before the show today. Look at the amount of grease.
Oh.
Grease is the word.
Look, we were enjoying a slice of pizza.
Yeah.
And I had instead of a napkin, I just had the plate folded up with the slice.
I know what the details of your grubbiness.
And it fucking fell out of my hand. I had to catch the pizza cheese side up down. And then my hand was covered in fucking grease.
The point is,
So you
you're
wiped it on your
covered
shirt?
Yes, I
in
did.
grease.
Yeah.
Yes, I had no
That's
napkin.
what's
Now,
important.
speaking of which, we bring up Grease, all right? That was a racing scene. Took place the same exact place as Live and Die in L.A. The
Yeah, what-
L.A. River, as they call it.
Yeah, what is that? It's just like a runoff section?
Yeah, but when they do get hard rain, it's like crazy rushing water.
I feel like
Really?
I've never seen water inside it. Probably because I've only seen it in movies.
Yeah, because you usually
Well,
see car chases.
Yes, there's not a lot of rain in California, but when it rains, man, it pours. Doing a little lyrics for you.
And they don't know what's going on when it's raining over there.
They don't know what.
They shut the city down.
They start screaming, "The sky is falling," and they start self-cutting.
It's understandable.
I was. What is that called when you're a self-cutter?
It's close to just a cutter.
Just
Yeah.
a cutter.
Self-harmer.
I was a cutter when I was younger. And it actually takes a lot of courage for me even to say that.
Oh, God.
The thing that the doctor said was so different is I never cut myself. I would always cut others.
I'm not sure if that's the same thing.
No, that's a cutter. I was cutting till I felt better. Like, oh, relieved. Now I finally feel something. The pressure's been relieved. And I remember my girlfriend at the time just said to me, ah, ah. And I said, what? What, don't let you cutting too much?
It's blown out of proportion.
Thanks for backing me up. Chris Stanley.
So you cut
call me the grease
women,
man.
then, Chris.
Dude, there's already a guy in the radio called the Grease Man.
Oh,
you just insulted him.
Yep. You just started a war.
I don't need
Grease
no
War.
We're playing for Greece. Greece for Greece.
One time, years ago, in New York, there was a place in my neighborhood, and I think around the city called Chirping Chicken. And they had left some of their chicken grease out. And it was so big, people were slipping and falling in it. I mean, it was more grease than you'd ever want to see on one sidewalk. It was on a Sunday morning. And it was almost like a Coen Brothers movie where I was just smoking and staring at the grease, not saying a word. But after all these years, Chirping Chicken has changed their name.
To what?
And they put up, I don't know, Chris. They put up the new name and had the word natural, but they misspelled natural. So now it says Chirping Chicken, but there's another fucking sign over Chirping Chicken and then a affix to natural in it. And I'm like, I still don't trust them. Even though I'm glad to see Chirping Chicken is gone, I don't trust the new place
Well,
for the detail work it takes.
you know, I had a friend who was like, "Oh, like you Your folks live near Chirpin Chicken. You guys must go there all the time. And I was like, I've never been there.
No.
And never once. And I'd never even met a person who's been in there. What's going on? And she was like, delicious. And I was like,
Yeah.
it can't be.
I would not try them because I saw the amount of grease that they left, and people older people were sliding through the grease and falling down and hitting the sidewalk. And I didn't help because I thought, I'll get grease on me.
You don't want, look at me. I'm covered in grease. I look like I'm a fucking madman. You don't want grease on yourself.
Thank you, Chris.
Also,
Grease is the word. Yes.
Pal's Fried Chicken, Kansas Fried Chicken, also city chicken places that are untrustworthy as fuck.
Oh, I've
You
gone
can't
to-
say stuff like that.
I've-
You just can't say
gone
that
to
on the
all-
radio.
I've gone-
You realize that, right?
Good point.
By the way, I've been to those establishments because I have lived in black neighborhoods. They're
Is that
very
right?
popular there, yes.
They never say why black people like chicken so much, but the truth is, white people really like chicken
Yeah,
too.
and they're trying to pretend like they don't.
Yeah, and they're like, well, you know them. They eat fried chicken and mashed and watermelon. I'm like, well, so do I, and quite a bit of it.
So,
You know?
yeah, you're the weird one if you're just like fried chicken.
It's like, yeah,
It's literally the easiest thing to be like, combine the meat that everyone likes
yeah,
with fried.
with the frying that everyone adores, and then the best fruit that's ever lived. See, Gail getting quiet now. She's not a watermelon person.
I don't.
My friend Earl will not eat watermelon in public. He said.
I wish you would
Because
just once.
the stereotype. You should ask him to come back in. He hasn't been here in a long time.
I'll reach out to Black Girl.
Reach out and touch her. Boom. Yeah, send them one of your famous emails. He loves to email people.
I'm going to text message him.
Why don't you do this? Snail mail people from now on.
I can't do that.
Why don't you she
Dearest
people?
Earl. She-mail people? That's good.
I wouldn't even know where to buy stamps at this point.
I thought you,
Have
that
you
what it-
ever... Where do the letters come through? The post what?
Office?
And what do they sell there?
I thought they really just sold more like envelopes.
And no
Okay,
stamps.
hold on.
Imagine...
What kind of model would this be?
Yeah.
So we're into the postage business.
Yeah.
And
We'll mail your letters. We'll even sell you some envelopes. Stamps, we don't carry them.
No, you see,
carry
we're owned by the federal government, and that's who makes stamps. So we chose not to have it together.
That's not our thing.
In my diner where I get eggs, I can't get bacon. I have to pick up my plate, walk down the street to another place, get some bacon, and then I'm like, I'll see you guys. I'm off to the toast house. Someday there'll be a genius that will put all these foods together.
You're thinking crazy, Ron Bennington. You don't know what you're talking about.
And that genius's name is Denny. And this is his restaurant, Denny's. No one ever, there's some people, you see what they look like, but no one's ever seen Denny.
Oh, I have no idea what Denny of Denny's looks like.
I bet a bunch of pockmarks.
That's why he doesn't do press.
Yes, that's the reason he refuses press.
I mean, you got the Colonel out there, bunch of chicken.
Hold on, Chris is writing me a note.
It's a no for a little bit. I'm pre-writing it. I swear to God.
That is very peculiar.
He's a peculiar
It's a
man.
no for a little bit, you know what I mean?
Know what I mean?
I take care of my notes before I give them over.
Hey,
That's a little something you gotta know about me. okay?
look, if you want to make it in this business, you got to pre-write your notes, you know?
It's good to do that.
Why?
So you're not worried about writing the note at the time when the note needs to be given.
He has that pin that says "I note it," and he just walks around with that.
It's a good look.
It's all good, man.
Love it.
Get it? It's all good, man. You don't watch the show at all, do you, Jen?
I mean, I watch Breaking Bad.
Now, what shows do you? What do you think Jen watches? And by the way, let's try to guess this. How does she watch? Is Jen, when Jen gets home, is she like Gail and myself, quick into comfortable clothes?
Immediately.
Like robe, in my case.
Okay.
Which, this bothers me. So, it's graduation time. I'm walking down the street. Everybody's coming in robes. You're supposed to look so smart. But any other day, if you're wearing a robe, you're like, what's with that loaded thing?
That guy's a nut, and he doesn't care about
Do you know how
himself.
nice it would be to wear a robe instead of a jacket or a sweater?
I don't understand. I mean, first of all, a kimono robe. I mean, as you see, I'm a big fan. I feel like men should be enjoying this just as much as I am.
I would go everywhere in a nightshirt if it was up to me. Now, let's look at Jen. How do you think she is at home?
I bet Jen takes off her shoes. She stays dressed, takes off her shoes, and puts on like pink fuzzy slippers.
Oh, I'm going to say this about her. I think she's a silk jammy person.
I do.
Silk jammies?
Oh, damn. Is there a slipper?
I like my feet out.
You're barefooted.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm the same. Although I always do have a pair of slippers.
Yeah.
But they're very rarely, like you said, nice light slipper. Chris Stanley is the type of guy who falls asleep in his clothes.
Yep.
Yes.
And I just see that from the wrinkling. And I put that as maybe the lowest of the low
Yeah.
that can happen. Like when I would be so whacked out that I would fall asleep in my clothes and wake up with it, I'd like, if there was a gun here right now, I would put it in my mouth and pull the fucking trigger.
One time when I was sleeping on my futon when my mom was alive,
That's disgusting.
the futon was low to the ground, so this is how I woke up. I woke up with my pants around my ankles because I couldn't take my boots off, and I was just passed out on my back with my feet on the ground, on my back on the fucking futon.
I'm glad your mom at least lived long enough to see that you're a success.
No. And this was a drunken pass out?
Yeah, it's a drunken pass out. It was bad.
I woke up. So I wake up. I'm just hearing this like ring, like this weird thing, and it was the phone up to my ear, and I was laying on the dining room table, laying on top of it. And the reason too that I was waking up is my girlfriend at the time was just screaming at me. I had been on the phone with her. We were going to a wedding, right, that I was in. We were on the phone the night before. I fall asleep somehow on the table. And I was supposed to pick her up. Never did. She had to get a fucking car and come to my place. And like we were due to be at the church in like 30 minutes.
Oh, shit.
So I went from like, first of all, like calm the fuck down. Like right away taking it like she's a lunatic.
Right.
Into I'm putting on my tux now. No shower, no nothing. And I went to the fucking wedding that way. And immediately started drinking at the reception.
Sure.
Like, I mean,
Because you don't want to be in bad shape.
yeah.
You gotta keep
Yeah.
that going.
This was another thing, too, that was funny about that reception. Number one, the fucking fire alarm went off, so everybody from the reception, because we're in the firehouse, a lot of people who were at the reception also ran to get on fire clothes to get out of there. And then, two, I go bellying up to the bar. I see my chick standing there. I just grab her ass, like trying to, let's get back to normal. It's not her.
Okay.
I've
Not
grabbed
good.
another girl's ass.
Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
And she turns around and I know her and I'm just like, yeah. Hey. Yeah, it's me, the guy who's still filthy from last night.
Little joke I do. I grab
Yeah.
everyone. I would just literally start running around and grabbing everyone's ass to be like, that's just my joke.
Woo! Happy wedding.
In my
Now,
culture, that's what we do.
The important thing that happened is me and my chick didn't stay together, and neither did the married couple. And I'm going to guess neither did anybody at the receptions, because they all wanted us to get married when we were 12 back then. That was the important thing. You're 12. How come you haven't found somebody? You got to start a family of your own. Peace, Chris. You're the best.
You're so cool.
You got a special break for us to take today?
Yeah.
You want to do a special break? Why is that? You checking out some new equipment?
Yeah, exactly. I want to make sure everything's working. I want to make sure everything's in proper working condition.
Which equipment has to be checked?
This new
The thing that we use for
software.
commercials?
Yeah, this new
Yeah.
software for the commercials. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I wanna
So
make
all
sure.
day he's been talking about it.
Yeah.
And now he's saying, I got to take a break early in the show. I got to take a break early in the show. I'm deciding not to do
Oh,
it.
we have to test the software. We have
No.
to.
Software.
We're going to talk a little bit more about Jen's jammies, which is silk, much like TLC and Creep.
Yeah.
That's how I just picture her.
But I pulled it off completely.
Yeah, you got
Yeah.
it. Was it based on TLC? Is that what you were thinking? Is that why you
No,
picked
I
silk
just
jammies
know
for
that
Jen?
she's so high end. She wants to do everything high end. Chris is low end.
Yeah, look at me.
She's like, I only have the finest of jammies.
Reggie, where's my jammies? At the silk ones?
Reginald, bring my mud jammies on a pillow.
That poor man, huh? That poor man.
He has his hands full.
Yeah.
He has his hands full.
That's why sometimes he's got to go out and run. You know what I mean? Some days the wolf got to prowl. All right, let's take a break for Chris Stanley and your new commercial software. We hope you enjoy it even more at home. You'll hear the commercials in LD, low definition. Right back. This is the Bennington Show. Look out. Here comes the Spider-Man. Hey, it's the Bennington Show. We just got done doing an unmask with George Schlatter, the man who produced Laugh-In, Real People, tons of variety shows, those Emmy Award shows, those Academy Award shows. He started the Comedy Awards, as a matter of fact. He did the first one of those. Chris Stanley, magnificent job, my friend. That was one of my favorite unmasked of all time. You know why? I love a good story. I love a guy who's so honest and truthful and crazy with his stories. And these things are amazing.
Dude, those are some of like the best entertainment stories I think I've ever heard. And he was so incredibly charming. Like, just the way he was telling the stories. He's so animated and funny. And I'm really excited to share this one because there's stories I never heard about Laugh-In, about just his life is really, really
Frank
incredible.
Sinatra, Red Fox, Sammy Davis Jr. It goes on and on and on. And these are, well, he even tells a couple Bill Cosby and Donald Trump stories. These things are very edgy for a guy well into his 80s to be talking about.
Right.
It was just amazing. All right, so we are right around the corner from this terrible accident that happened in Times Square. Car drives into a crowd of people, 1 dead, 13 hurt after car plows into Times Square crowd. This is right where our buddy Hard Rock Johnny works. The sad thing about it is you think of somebody taking a trip to New York. This is their vacation. This is pretty much where you're going to see people from Times Square are not locals, but somebody who flew here and then have something horrible like this happen. And I don't know the details why this car was out of control. We never do. Chris was asking me about a comedian that we have booked later, wondering about coming over, and I just said you could tell him we don't know the details because we live in a world right now that, to me, I would have normally said this was an accident. But,
right,
they look into everything and should look into everything these days. It's a crazy, crazy news day. And like I said, I've been doing that, so I haven't seen any updates on Chris Cornell, but that's the story that I woke up with this morning.
Yeah.
Shocked. He was in here about a year ago. And not kidding, everyone in the place, men and women, were saying, Jesus, what a gorgeous guy. You know what I mean? Like, literally, all the talent in the world. And then simply, physically stunning human being.
Yeah.
And he's in his 50s.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's in his 50s. Stunning human being. And then you hear something like this, and you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was really shocking. It's like always weird with those very unexpected deaths where like they pop up on your phone and you have to like read it 3 times. Like, does someone else have the same name as Chris Cornell? Like, it seemed so strange. And it was weird too because, we not too long ago did, a delve into the Seattle scene for GPS. So, we got a chance to kind of listen to that music again and kind of learn more about how, he was such an integral part of that scene.
Well, think for a second though. Kurt Cobain, Scott Weiland, Lane Stanley, Chris Cornell. I mean, those were 4 of the 5 guys that broke out to become these major frontmen in Seattle. And this is only, 20 some years ago. And 4 of the 5 are dead.
Yeah. And, you think of you're not going to have those kind of older voices to look back on that scene 10, 20 years from now, the way you got to. Certainly there were a lot of deaths, people who were gone way too soon in the 60s and 70s, but because of the amount, there were always voices to go back and say, you were there, you were kind of, the head of that scene.
Yeah, because with that, you're looking at the 60s, but here you're not just looking at the 90s, but one specific neighborhood of the 90s where all those people were together. When I first started working in New York, coming into NEW, and it was me and Earl, and we start to hear like music. We start to head towards it, and at the Letterman show, on top of the marquee, Audio Slave is just playing, and it's the middle of the day. And people are just running in, and that voice of his is echoing in all those buildings. And it was just one of those crazy moments that you're like, holy shit, you're walking to work, but then you're at an Audio Slave concert. Right. And you're like, this is on top of the marquee of the old Ed Sullivan building. So suddenly you're in this wild thing.
Right.
But to me, out of all the singers there, he was the one with the voice. I mean, that voice was crazy. I mean, that voice was stunning.
Yeah.
It was a showstopper.
Like, if you think about his vocals on Black Hole Sun, I can't remember when this was. It was for a while ago, but somebody had put out just the isolation of his vocals doing Black Hole Sun. And it's just like, oh my God, he's like
real deal.
Voice of an angel. It was like, it's really gorgeous. But yeah, I mean, he was the strong vocalist for sure of that.
Now, the initial thing that I heard today was suicide, but since then, his wife has said she had talked to him before the sound check, after the show, that he wasn't expressing any suicidal thoughts. So Lord knows. I don't know why this would immediately come out as suicide to begin with. And then so I see that story, right? And I immediately, this is as soon as I wake up. So I head on over to the Drudge Report to see the Chris Cornell story. And the Roger Ailes story was under the blinking Kmart light that he does. So he didn't even have a link yet. Drudge had just put that up.
Yeah.
I'm seeing Roger Ailes, and I'm like, what the?
Yeah, I had the same experience. I was reading an article about Chris Cornell as that popped up. And I was like, okay, this is very bizarre. And same thing, it had popped up as an alert on my phone.
Yeah.
And nobody else had it yet. And there were no real articles. So I was like, it always takes you a few moments to be like, okay, I'm going to have to wait to see how many people start picking this up. But,
and now this story in Times Square today. All three stories have given Donald Trump a little bit of break from being on the front page of the news.
Yeah.
Here was the interesting thing about Roger Ailes. So I switched over, and Morning Joe had gone straight Roger Ailes. I switched over to CNN. They were straight Roger Ailes. I switched over to Fox, and they weren't talking about it at all. They were doing like their regular morning show.
Oh, that's very strange.
Yeah, so, and I kept switching back and forth. And then at the end, they said something like about Roger and that he had brought them in, and they were actually pretty shaken. And I'm like, are they too close to it for them to have done a story, or did they not feel like those morning people were good enough to just sit there and handle that kind of talk? I don't know, but just a day of bizarre, crazy stories,
very,
one after
very
another.
surreal. And this Times Square one is so strange. It's just the same thing you said. Like, you can't really say at this point, like,
you just hope it's an accident.
Yeah.
You hope someone fucked up.
And isn't that strange that any other time you would be going, oh, of course, this sounds like a terrible accident, but just from news stories of the last 2 years of things like this happening purposeful, you're like, oh, okay, that normally would be considered an accident. It's really, really surreal. And really weird to see Times Square emptied out.
Yeah. Well, a couple years since I've worked here. What's that woman putting her entire face in the camera on CNN?
Don't know why that's so zoomed
That's
in.
amazing. Somebody pull back a little bit. That is close. I don't want to see her tonsils break the news. But a couple times since I've worked here, there's been, a package left behind, so they'll empty out Times Square in the middle of the day.
Right.
And you're just like, uh-oh.
The last time it happened, Chuck Palahniuk was in the studio. That was really strange.
Chuck was actually nervous.
Yeah, I know.
I made him go over and look at it, and he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's like this was the whole time we were talking? And I go, yes, Chuck, it was. Write it up.
Why did you hide it from me?
Yeah. I thought he was a tough guy. So 1 dead, 12 hurt. Car plows into pedestrians in Times Square. Don't know much more than that.
I just saw one thing go up that there were a couple reports that it was going down the wrong side of the road before hitting pedestrians.
That seems to be the only detail.
Yeah.
And we're in a world where, like, boy, I just hope that was a drunk. You know what I mean? I hope it was a drunk alcoholic. Just driving around like a lunatic drunk.
It's a little day drinking, that's all.
God, Chris.
Weird thing to say.
Weird way to take it.
Very strange.
Turn it into a party thought instead of an anti-terroristic rant that I was trying to do.
Well, if you remember the bicycle story, it's not out of character.
Not at all. All right, just jumping back into this. 844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. On a day when we lose a rock god. Crazy.
Yeah.
Get rid of this phone number, Chris. It suddenly seems in bad taste, like your day drinking joke that you did moments before.
Jesus.
You know what? I just heard George Slaughter say so many edgy things, and I laughed along. And then you say one thing, and
you have to have a certain personality to get away with that stuff.
You know what? By the way, put together well, Chris, today. Oh, I'd like to do something about the sweat level, though, but that's the only other thing.
It's rough, the sweat, It doesn't stop ever.
I did hear you say to Chris, is everything all right? And he's like, yeah, everything's going great, very smoothly. And you're like, then why are you sweating so much? Because it does look like you're nervous.
A large man that I rode up with, and I don't mean in weight, I mean in height. He reaches into, I'm in the elevator, he reaches into his bag and takes out what I would just call a dingy old bath towel, and was just rubbing his neck down.
Yeah.
Now, I'm glad that you want to dry up a little bit, but we're in a small moving box together. I don't want to be there as you're, like, in between fucking rounds in a boxing match.
There's a splash.
By the way, now that we're all up here, this morning, as I was coming in, I was here just maybe like 20 minutes before you got here. And I pull up, get to our elevator bank. Everyone's like, there's a ton of people in there. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. All of the elevators are down. Oh. And I'm just like, okay, do I alert anyone? I'm like, I'm going to mention this after the show. I'll mention this after the Unmasked. And I'm standing there like, do I get on this elevator? Once they're like, we just have to reset everything. The elevators all went down. And I was like, do I get on the first reset elevator? I
was on one yesterday. It stopped at like 34 and just starts doing a foreign word over and over and over and not closing the doors. And I'm like, well, maybe I should get out of here. I'm 34, somebody else's building, and just walk down and get another elevator. And then they shut, and I thought to myself, as soon as they shut, why did I stay in this crazy elevator? You know what I mean? Because I'll tell the story later when, the 18 hours after they fucking take me out of it. I knew something was wrong because I heard a foreign word being said over and over. Like a hacker was taking it over. Hey, Travis. Travis, you're on the Bennington Show.
Hey, Ron. Hey, Gail.
Hey.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of interesting because this is the anniversary of Ian Curtis's death, who also, allegedly hung himself.
Well, we don't know anything about what happened with Chris Cornell at this time. but
See, I had heard a report that like a band member had found him, and it was an obvious thing. And a lot of these people that do commit suicide have kind of a moment of clarity where everything's fine because they're aware they're going to be doing something like that.
Yeah, I would not feel comfortable leaping ahead to that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I know nothing about it. But I'll use you for that, Travis. I'll let you be the guy who brings up the moment of clarity. I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. And I know that his wife said that she had talked to him before and he hadn't had any thoughts or was discussing it. I don't know if that was a moment of clarity or what happened to him.
Yeah,
But, it's a major loss. Major loss to the world of music.
And just like such shocking news to get. I mean, who really knows? But it was very weird news to get this morning.
844 Rock God, 844 Rock God. Hey, Dutch, what's happening, buddy? Dutch, I got you. His phones are a little wacky today. It looks like when I came in here, Vito was peeing into him, so that might have something.
Okay, Vito, how many times do I have to tell you?
Yarn powered by yarn.
I don't know. I don't know why you thought that was for a power source. I mean, that's another inappropriate thing that you said today.
Powers.
We just lost two of the giants from the Seattle grunge scene, Chris Cornell and Roger Ailes.
I did not know he was there.
Oh, he was great.
Really influential, I guess.
No, nobody played like him afterwards, so I guess that's not influential.
Okay.
I mean, he was good, but nobody said, "Hey, I want to take it from here," which is sad when you think about it. Any of you guys influenced by me? Nope. Not one of us.
I mean, you do your thing, sure.
Yeah. All right, so I think I got this fixed. Dutch?
Hey, guys, how are you?
We had to reboot you the way that we did the elevators.
Well, you had to reboot me the same way we had to reboot Chris's comments, so I'm okay with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yarn.
Sure. Hey, I saw Chris Cornell play an acoustic set at the Klein Auditorium in Bridgeport 2 years ago. He played for 3 hours. The last hour was basically like like one of those piano bar things where people just call out songs, and he just played anything. And his wife and kid were on stage. It was one of the best shows I've ever seen.
I think you probably saw him at the same time that he was here, about that time that he came in and did acoustic. And his voice was, it was crazy.
Like for a guy at 50, though, I guess he was 50 at that point, give or take, it was like there was no noticeable difference from when he was at his peak with Audio Slave or anything else.
Yeah.
He was just good, and it was pure, and he was having fun. He looked healthy.
He was. He was an incredibly healthy looking, as I said. You don't normally run into when men and women are going, Jesus, that's a good looking person. You know what I mean? Like he had one of those scenes going where both sexes, even straight people, are like, oh, wish I looked like him. I go, you wish you looked like him or you wish you did something with him?
I don't know. One and the same.
We're waiting on the official word of that crash in Times Square, but I'll just say, Vito, get a hold of Johnny, please. Thank you. Because we've got somebody right on the front page there. Here's Renee in New Mexico. Renee.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, Ronnie, you were saying that like 4 of the 5 have died.
Yeah.
Also, you think about the 90s, the guy from Sublime, from Blind Melon, so many of them great guys have passed away from the 90s. It's really sad.
Well, the 90s was a return to the kind of heroin rocker. You know what I mean? Like the 60s and somewhat part of the early 70s. But after that, the business of rock got very, very professional. You know what I mean? And you didn't see a lot of that in the 80s. But the early 90s brought,
the troubled rocker.
Troubled rocker back. And, when you're coming out of Seattle, that whole scene was depressed. It was a very, when we went back and listened to a bunch of that music, we were like, oh, God, I feel kind of bad about myself now. So those guys were carrying around a lot of heaviness from the beginning. But if you look at that whole MTV generation, they weren't fucking tying off. But as soon as we got to the early 90s,
Yeah.
I mean, fucking Coke was dead, but heroin was back in a big, big way.
Big way.
Yeah. As our president says, big league. I don't understand why people don't know that he says big league.
I think that. Do you think he said big league every time? Because
Yes,
I know
every time.
Because I know the first time I heard it, I was very confused and was saying, "Is he saying big league?" And then somebody said it was league, and I tried to re-listen to it. But we've stayed with the big league for some reason, even though people corrected it. We're like,
stuck.
We've decided you said big league.
But it's big league. It 100% is big league. I don't know why anybody would be such a nut to think that he says big league.
I mean, when I heard it, that's exactly what I heard. So
The only
I was
way
like,
that he ever says big Lee, he has this fat friend named Lee, and every time he comes around, Trump's just like, big Lee! Big Lee! Yeah, that 90s scene just decimated. I didn't even think about some of the other people that had died years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like, we're not going to have many old stories from rock
You know what else
gods of
has
that
also
day.
surprised me? I've heard from some of my friends that are big metal fans, and they're like devastated because they love Chris Cornell because they thought he was like a metal singer who sang with a grunge band.
Yeah, I guess he did have a little bit of that sensibility. A little bit, but
that Broadway voice.
yeah, exactly. That he kind of was like pulling from that kind of theatrical kind of sounding voice.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He also had like such a sweetness and a gentle vibe to his voice too.
Bobby Moynihan, our buddy, ends his run this Saturday. Is his last show on SNL, and then he gets his own show on CBS. I don't know what the name of it is. I think it's I'll come up with the name of it in a second. I believe it's Me, Myself, and I.
Mm-hmm.
But he had, this surprised me because I didn't know it was that long. 9-year run. 9-year run.
Yeah, that's an end of an era. That's like that's a really good run on SNL.
It's got to put him in the top 10 of people who've done SNL easily. But Keenan's there, and Keenan's been just crazy, like 14 years or something. So he plays in this new show the middle-aged version of a guy, but there's also a kid version of him and then a future old man version. Seems like the kind of show I could have wrote if I just fucking, you know what I mean? If I just fucking try. Just, here's my things. Like, if I sit down to write something, right? I'm going like this. Holy shit, I might be the best Madden player of all time. And then I'll go, wait, how did I get over here? How did I just play an entire season of Madden? And I look down, and I just see a notebook that I had put there, and then I had made a dick, but then a couple googly eyes and a smile. And I go, Dick Nose is here. You know, it's just stupid. Cool doesn't get me, you know what I mean? It doesn't get me the fucking writing credit that I want on a major television network.
It just made me think of like when you get like a high hopes and you like buy yourself like a new either like journal or notebook,
I've done that kind of
and you're
shit
like,
before.
this is gonna fucking change everything. This thing's gonna be filled up in 2 weeks time. I'm gonna have all my ideas here. It's gonna be, and then like you find it like 2 years later and there's like 2 pages written on it and you're like, ah man, this was gonna be the thing.
Day one, the journey begins. Starting with his notes. Well, did you ever hear that book, The Artist's Way?
Yeah, I read that book.
Everyone reads it.
Yeah.
Because she sold 2 million copies. But the whole thing to make you a better writer, you get up and write stuff that you don't want to write first thing in the morning. You just like preform. I don't like, if I could do that, I'd be doing it.
She was like going on almost automatic writing. Like your alarm goes off and you just put your pen to the page and just start going.
And I don't want to just go back and go like this. Oh, I just wrote that I want to fuck my next door neighbor. and I don't care who, you know what I mean? Like, that's not the kind of shit I want to see written down. I don't want my inner thoughts spilling out. I'm trying to fucking suppress them and hold them down.
This isn't stuff I want to share with the world. How's this going to make me millions?
I just made a list. I ranked all the minority groups, one after another. At top, I put white, and then in parentheses, men. No, I don't want to do that kind of free-form writing. I want to be able to sit there with just a bottle of scotch and either write a novel or just another hit fucking TV pilot or movie script. And I don't rewrite. So know that, studios. What you get is fucking gold. Just shoot it. How stupid do you have to be not to just shoot this masterpiece and turn it into an Oscar winner?
Yeah, they say the most successful writers do treat writing like a job as like a daily job. Like they're like, I write from this time to this time. I sit down, even if it's stuff I never use.
I know comedians who do that.
Yeah.
They sit down for 2 hours with a pen and pen, and I'm like, well, who could do that? And they go, I go, how many good jokes you get a day? And they go, maybe one. I go, well, that's stupid. And then you go, oh yeah, but at the end of the 7 days, you got 7 good jokes. In fucking a month, you got 30 new fucking jokes.
Right.
So why am I saying that it's stupid? Here's what I did last night. I'm at the New York Comedy Club, and so you go on and you do, I forget what is 10 or 15 minutes. There's no material that you can do. And I followed Roy Wood Jr.
Not easy.
How fucking hilarious is that?
That sounds very intimidating.
And I'm in the back, I'm laughing my ass off. I'm like, oh, fuck, Roy. I wish I was you. See, here's the thing to black guys. Black guys, people, the audience agrees with them. So there's like this. White people just love to eat garlic. They put garlic on everything. And everyone's like, yeah. True. And I'm just thinking, that's not necessarily true. There are plenty of white people who don't touch garlic. Why are we agreeing with this man? Based on his hipness and fun? But I thought of an idea, and it went, I'll just say this, pretty well. And I'll leave it at that. Pretty well.
Will you tell us what your
I will, but see, the thing is, I'm going to do it probably again now because it worked out so well.
That's awesome.
And I don't want to give it away.
So that was writing for you.
Well, no. It was, what is it when you push something away? That's what I was doing. I thought of an idea so I didn't have to do what I had to do.
Right.
I did a social experiment in the room.
Right.
And it all worked out very, very well. But I came up with a social experiment, so I did not have to actually do what most people would call creativity.
There's an update on the Times Square crash.
Give it to me. Lay it on me.
All right, there.
Give it to me. Feed me. Chris.
Shirtless man arrested. He has priors. He has DWI priors. They call him an out of control driver. He was shirtless when he got into the car.
Okay, I don't know why a man without a shirt on is the fucking lead story. In other words, this was not terrorism.
Seems like it was just a drunk.
Okay. Why were you hung up on shirtless? Was it the nipples? Because he has a nipple obsession.
You do.
And he told me before, he goes, he's so turned on from nipples. He said, even guy nipples.
Really?
Is that Mr. Leeds there? I'm doing this. Steve leads. The rest of the world follows. What's going on? You have somebody?
Yeah, someone, Mr. Little Steven wants to stop by.
Yes, would love to have little Steven drop in. Please do.
In just a few moments.
Come on in, buddy.
Hey.
Hey, I also want to say congratulations to you because I know how many years you've worked on this Beatles channel, and it happened today. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
He had the idea for this. I'm going to give it to you because I know he won't toot his own horn. 9 years ago. 9 years he has worked. Now, if you know anything about Apple Records, nothing has ever happened in history quickly with them.
No.
Because it takes all the Beatles and their, whoever their families are now to deal with that. And there's so many different things that you got to deal with. And by the way, the show that I was at last night, It's Robbie Slowick and Casey Balsam run it, and they're two of the people who, of the 3 years that we did the football pool here.
Yes.
The last two winners.
It was a couple's win.
Yeah.
Back to back.
All right, Little Steven is here. That's great. Let's bring him in.
Little Steven is coming in studio right now. He's also he's the PD of Underground Garage on Sirius XM.
That was great.
Thanks.
And with the music? Perfect.
With the music, it's going really well. And here comes Little Steven. There's no music.
Huh?
I didn't have any music queued up.
Got a brand new song. Hey, buddy, great to see you again.
How you been?
Great. This is Gail.
Hi,
Hello.
so nice to meet you.
How are you?
How's it going,
Hey,
Steven?
man, how you doing? We shut the phone off here.
The new song is out. Love on the Wrong Side of Town is available now. And the new album, Soulfire, out May 19th. Great to see you, man.
How you doing?
Well, it's a rough day in rock, isn't it? It's a terribly rough day.
We got a lot of them lately,
Yeah.
haven't we? I mean,
Yeah.
it's really. What can you say, man? It's just one of the last year or so, last two.
Yeah.
This seems like we're losing somebody every month or two, and it's a tragedy. It is. Very talented cat.
Unbelievably talented guy. Unbelievably talented. Tell me about these guys that you put together for this project.
Well, this is a whole new Disciples of Soul. Really, it's gonna keep changing now from now on because that's been the biggest challenge. Finding people who can hang with you for a month or two or three. Everybody's so busy.
Yeah.
And my thing has kind of evolved through the years from using rock guys, to more session people who perform. Half the session people just stay in recording studios
Right.
and never leave. But, the ones that do go out and perform, everybody wants them.
Yes.
Whoever it might be,
Yeah.
from Sting to Kravitz to, Stevie Nicks or whoever it might be.
Yeah.
We're all, kind of find the same people who are capable of playing the music. And my stuff, it's just gotten a little bit sophisticated lately. And so it requires really, really good musicians who can, play in time and play in tune and learn, probably, 40 or 50 songs, and, believe it or not, that's hard to come by.
Yeah, of course
it's not so easy.
Yeah.
So, that's been a challenge. I got a couple people who have been with me for a few years, Eddie Mannion and Stan Harrison on horns. And I borrowed Mark Ribler, my MD from Darlene Love, who I recruited to be her music director last year. And I'm excited. There was a group called the Youngbloods back in the 60s, which most people wouldn't remember. They had one big hit called Get Together. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, right? But they actually were a fantastic band, and I have that piano player, a guy named Banana, playing piano with me, which is very exciting. And, Charlie Drayton on drums, who played with Keith Richards. So, you find people who you know or you're familiar with and have worked with in the past, or in some cases it's new people, and that's just the way it's going to be in the future.
And you just never know how that's going to click, like who's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, my thing, I'm a band guy, so that's my thing, is putting bands together and making sure they're great, but I'm going to have to do that now, maybe every single time I go out. It's just that's the way of the modern world.
Now, when you think soul, where does your mind immediately go when you talk about soul?
Well, soul begins for me, with Sam Cooke and Ray Charles, and then goes almost straight into Motown. To me, Motown really defines it. The Temptations and Four Tops, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson. I mean, they just had, the one legendary, incredible artist after the other over there, and the arrangements, which are very similar to what I'm doing, that thing where you have a bigger production, was just happened to be the style that Berry Gordy, pretty much invented, where you have the background vocals and the great string parts and the great horn parts all making this wonderful jigsaw puzzle, and that just became the thing I liked the most, I did it with Darlene Love last year, and I'm doing it with myself now. And I always have, really, since I've gotten in the studio. I've always had that thing of hearing it big, and I enjoy that,
Well, we're still trying to wrap our heads around Motown. After all these years, you're still trying to figure out, how did something like that happen? How did that even go down?
It's incredible. You're absolutely right. It was one of those things that you got to give Berry Gordy, the credit, and they went around, they found those Funk Brothers, that studio band, were mostly jazz people, and just fashioning that, it came from somewhere. It came from the R&B before. It came from the Jackie Wilson records and the, Ray Charles records and even, Little Richard, and then into the 40s, so it came from somewhere, but Berry Gordy, and the great producers that he chose, fashioned this thing, man. Yeah. That's just, how you find that many amazing artists in one place is, it's just, that's why I call that a Renaissance period.
Oh,
man.
sure.
I don't use that word lightly. Yeah. I mean, it was, just Motown alone was a Renaissance period.
Yeah, man.
Okay? That's not even going to Memphis.
Okay?
Or Muscle Shoals, right? With Stax and the Fame and all the other great studios and the West Coast and Curtis Mayfield in Chicago and Alan Toussaint in New Orleans. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you had like this incredible, talent all over the place. Plus the folk rock stuff coming up, plus, the Bob Dylans and Byrds and Buffalo Springfield and Youngbloods. And the British Invasion.
The British Invasion. It's stunning.
But even with all those scenes, Motown almost felt like the most perfect package from talent level to the style of it.
Think of any one person from Motown. Think if you went Smokey or Marvin Gaye or any of the Stevie Wonder, any of them would have been the Elvis of that period. And he had all of those dudes.
Totally right. Yeah. Totally right. And I agree with you. Yeah. If I had to pick one album, one album that really the ultimate album, regarding everything, it would be the Temptations' Greatest Hits.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Okay? Yeah. To me, greatest. Got 5 lead singers in that group. For starters, right? The singing, the performance, the arrangements, the songs. I mean, it's just the ultimate. To me, the ultimate evolution of our art form is the Temptations' Greatest Hits. And so, and what was interesting, you looking back now. I've been trying to do a TV version of my radio show now for like 10 years, right? And, eventually I will hopefully get it done. But you go back and look at the rock and roll shows that we all grew up with and at that time, and we were so lucky because there were like 8 rock and roll TV shows on every week. Can you imagine that? Right? And you'll watch those shows and the Rolling Stones come on and Smokey Robinson, and then the Kinks and then Marvin Gaye. Every single one of those rock and roll shows had that soul element.
Yes.
Right integrated right with it, Yeah. And so those things coexisted, the British Invasion with soul music.
They covered soul songs. They covered current soul songs.
Right. Some of them, like the Beatles and Stones, through their 5th album. Yeah. 5 albums in. Okay. They're already the greatest writers in the world by then. And they're still covering songs by then. That's how into it they were, So it was a wonderful. I talk about this, when I talk about politics, from back then. I'm saying this was, I talked about it the other day at Rutgers. The artistic melting pot happened way before society happened. We were taking all this for granted because we're watching these shows. Sure. We think, Marvin Gaye and the Stones and, and the Temptations and the Animals and, it's all the same thing to us. It's wonderful music. We weren't thinking this guy's black, that guy's white, we weren't thinking that way and neither were they. Yeah. And so we were kind of ahead, in the arts. We were ahead of society,
If you can play, you belong there. That's the way people viewed it.
That was it, man. And every white artist back then knew
Yeah.
that they owed the black, population their lives. I mean, that's where it was coming from. Every single white artist was imitating a black artist, what I call failing gloriously, because it created a new hybrid, of music. But that's all, the Beatles and Stones, they were afraid to come to America. They're going to laugh at us.
Yeah.
We're going to play, soul stuff and even the Pioneers stuff. We're going to play Chuck Berry, and we're going to play Carl Perkins, and we're going to play, whatever it might be, Smokey Robinson, and they're going to laugh at us because we're a bad imitation of the real thing. They didn't realize, that they were doing something interesting themselves,
Yeah, by just being, but isn't this always blows me away that some kid growing up in London on the other side of the world, because the world was a bigger place, there was less places to hear things, and they're driven by Chicago blues or Delta blues so much that they come back and start to lecturing the kids at the shows, like, this is where this comes from. And even in this country, the Allman Brothers did the same exact thing. The Allman Brothers would turn around at their concerts and say, this is, where we got this from,
Yeah, no, that's true.
And then their love of that music is like filtered through them. It's like you're taking American culture, filtering it through these British artists who love this, rich American artistic history, and then selling it back to white. It's kind of a strange thing. It's like, it's the way that music, like the love of music pushes music to go forward.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I never heard of these people. I never heard of Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
Never. I never heard of Muddy Waters. I never heard of, any of the 50s guys, until the British guys told me about them. Yeah, that's a fact.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's stunning.
Well, why would you? Where would you hear it? By the time we became teenagers, most of the pioneers were gone.
Yeah.
Richard had seen Sputnik and joined the ministry. Chuck Berry's in jail. Buddy Holly's dead, in a plane crash. Elvis is in the army. They were all gone by the early 60s, mid-60s, and so it was like, is it over? Is that whole thing?
It really felt like at that time, it's gone. And then Ed Sullivan's show,
boom.
An entire generation of kids.
Boom.
And it's so funny. So many times I've met so many guys that are, classic rock age, and they start to tell this thing when they get this first guitar, and I could write it out as they're doing it. They're watching TV, and it all happened them for this, no matter who you're talking about, those guys were just like, all right, I'm going to get one of those. I'm going to sing to girls, and that'll be my life from that point on. I mean, that was such a major change for people.
Yeah. It was what I call the big boom. It was the beginning of life for a lot of us. 72 million people watched that show. So, it was a whole generation. But it was wonderful. To this day, it resonates right through to today. It's amazing. That alone is amazing that it lasted, something could last 50, 60 years. I mean, you look at, the Beatles, let's say, whatever, Sgt. Pepper this year, right? 1967.
1967, yeah.
Go back 50 years from that, 1917. What's happening there?
It was like Al Jolson or something. Nobody was listening to that. Yeah.
Okay. You know what I'm saying? So just to think about that for a minute. Right?
Well,
we're listening to Sgt. Pepper like it came out yesterday.
Yes.
Okay? And it has every bit of, it's totally valid as it came out yesterday.
And we probably don't think about the fact that, young people, we probably don't reflect on it much, that young people then inherit that music immediately, and you have young audiences who discover the Beatles or the Rolling Stones and feel as passionately, and that was obviously not the case during that time. Young people were not.
But to this day, every 15-year-old boy probably goes through a Doors period where he just it's the Doors, and that's all I can concentrate on right now. Well, you see it at your shows when you guys are out on tour. There's multiple generations.
Younger and younger.
Yeah.
We get bigger every single tour, each Japan. Okay, now there's only one way to get bigger. That's by adding younger audiences.
Right.
We're not adding older audiences, So they're younger and younger. And certain countries, Italy and Spain, are you don't even see people over 40.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's amazing how young that audience has gotten for us. But we get bigger every single tour because of that. The younger people just are coming out, you know, to see what these old men can still do.
Well, but that's got to be an extra responsibility for you guys because you're thinking we're, you know,
it would be. It would be if we didn't do it naturally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To us, it's no responsibility. We go on stage with that same attitude we did when we were 22.
Yeah, because you're thinking we're, you know,
it would be. It would be if we didn't do it naturally.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. To us, it's no responsibility. We go on stage with that same attitude we did when we were 22.
Yeah,
you know, we're going out there to kill.
That's I'm gonna lay this place out.
I'm gonna give you the best show you have ever seen in your life. I thought that when I was 20, and I think it now.
Yeah,
there's no difference. So there's no real responsibility. We just, you know, we take that for granted, man. We're going.
Well, that's the other thing about it. That there's always a friendly competition with those bands. Like all those bands want to be at all times the best.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, I guess there is. Yeah. With us, it's really friendly competition, but I guess so. You know, I mean, we don't really think of it that way because we're so obviously the best.
Yeah. Well,
no real competition. But
well, my producer Vito, how old are you, Vito?
24.
And your favorite band in the whole world is
Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band.
This is
thank you.
This is an amazing,
another wise choice.
Yeah. I've seen you guys
a wise man
with my mom. Like me and my mom, it's our thing we do together. She's taken me since I was a kid.
You see that?
Yeah,
it's my favorite thing to do with my mom in the world.
That's amazing because my mom used to ask me to turn that band down all the time.
So did
mine. Little Steven has a new song, "Love on the Wrong Side of Town." That's available now. The new album, Soulfire, out May 19th. Yeah, tomorrow. And Soulfire, great title, and it's exactly what we're talking about because there is a spiritual nature to this music that we refer to as soul because we have no other place. We have no other kind of name for that feeling.
Yes, and it comes very specifically from the gospel church, you know, which is why there's a certain intensity that comes from that sort of relationship that people have with God, you know,
Yes.
the divinity, you know, which is nothing more intense than that. It comes out of the church and it was transferred into a romantic setting, you know, that same intensity though, you know, with men and women, you know, and so we grow up with that. And that's the one thing I noticed when I did my show the other day for the first time, you know, there's an intensity in these songs that we, you know, felt were totally natural and totally normal that doesn't really exist anymore. You know, you don't have that kind of intensity in the pop world so much. Well, I'm not making a value judgment. I'm not saying it's better or worse or bad or good, but we had a certain intensity in every single song that we grew up with totally naturally, organically, that we continue to have to this day in our songs, you know, that don't really exist. That doesn't really exist anymore in the average artist, you know.
But there was also a hunger for that from that audience that you were going to go to a show, you would have these things that at a certain point, hopefully you connect it with the musicians, the music on stage, which connects you to every other person in the venue, which lifts you into a place that you can't even explain. And sometimes it lasted for a show, sometimes just a couple of moments. And it could happen with an arena band with the biggest star in the world or in a bar somewhere and maybe only for 15 minutes, but you left this plane of existence and connect it, you know?
Extremely important.
Yeah.
And that's it. You want to transport people to some other place and give them, and that energy exchange is mutual, by the way. You know, it's not just going in one direction. And you leave there elevated, you know, even if it's for just a few minutes or maybe it gets you through the whole work week, whatever. But that's the whole point of it, is to transport you, to take you some other place and elevate your consciousness, elevate your mood, stimulate you, inspire you, motivate you to make it through life, you know?
Yes.
I mean, that's what art does. It illuminates your life. And, you know, and hopefully, the nice thing about it is it's a gift that keeps on giving because it'll affect you differently in 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You hear the same thing, look at the same painting, read the same book, look at the same movie, and you get a whole different thing from it. you know, which is interesting.
Because
right?
your experience is at it, and you're seeing it now through a more mature eye. So you're going, oh, now I even get better. It's always amazing to me that we read so many of the classic novels when we're young, but those things are really, a lot of them are for people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s when you think about it.
That's right.
You know, so if if you go back to some of these books that were kind of forced on you when you were 14, you know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, this is what Atticus meant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not just paying attention to Scout. You've moved further ahead and you can start to understand what all the characters were about.
That's absolutely true.
But there is, we've always had this feeling in terms of music that it was for the young. And yet, if I got the chance to see B.B. King and Muddy and people like that when they were much older, and it was like an amazing blessing to me to see some of those.
We had
those
respect
guys.
for our elders, you know. In the arts, you have respect for the elders. That's how society should be.
Right.
Again, but the arts are kind of ahead on that also. You know, the older you get, usually in the arts, you get very often you're getting better.
Yeah.
You know? Yes, everybody has their peak, maybe, you know, occasionally, but, you know, for the most part, you know, you keep getting better in a lot of ways. So, you know, you look up to the older people as real sages and, you know, mentors and the people who built that road that you're on, you know, that pathway that is, you know, everything to you if you're like me, where rock and roll is literally my religion, you know.
Sure.
You know, you look up to these people and say, wow, you know. That's why from the very first moment I got into a recording studio, I decided to try and, you know, give back and be grateful to these people. The very first Southside Johnny album in the Jukes, we got Ronnie Spector and Lee Dorsey out of retirement, you know. The second album, we reunited the Drifters and the Coasters and the Five Satins, you know. And me and Bruce brought back Gary U.S. Bonds, and I'm working with Darlene Love last year, making her first album.
Which is crazy, yeah.
At the age of, you know, 73, you know, whatever she was, you know. I mean, you know, and, you know, you just can't stop. You can't have enough gratitude for these people, you know, and that's why, you know, my radio station, half of it is introducing new bands and supporting the new rock and roll, which is a miracle that there's somebody still making rock and roll records. And the other half is gratitude to the people who you know, made me who I am and inspired me my whole life. And now I'm inspiring another generation by playing them, you know, up until the Beatles station today, you know, I'm the only one playing the Beatles.
Right, yeah.
You know.
That's true.
You know. And until there's a Rolling Stones station, I'm the only one playing the Rolling Stones, you know, and the Kinks and the Yardbirds and the Hollies and, you know, the early Temptations and Four Tops and, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you know. So I'm able to say thank you to those people by now keeping their music alive, which is nice.
But you're also bringing in new acts and saying this all is a tapestry. This goes together.
Oh, yeah.
Which is true. And it's always been true.
Yeah. I always feel that, you know, you don't want to put it on a shelf and make it a museum either. You want to make sure that you're connecting the dots so that the more new stuff you can play that has obvious roots in it, the more relevant the older stuff becomes. You know, it never becomes old. It never becomes nostalgic. It is still relevant, you know? And I play, you know, whatever I play right now, it's relevant right now. I mean, it really has the same effect, you know, and which is amazing 50 years later.
Sure.
It really is. Like I said, it's like being excited about music from World War I.
Yeah.
Okay, you know, in the 60s. You know, it's extraordinary that it lasted this long.
Well, you've tapped into your muse and you've had it for a long time. Tomorrow, Soulfire comes out. It's May 19th, and Love on the Wrong Side of Town is available right now. Little Steven, always great to see you, my friend.
Thank you so much for coming in.
Absolutely. Good to see you all.
See you next time coming through.
You got it.
It's the Bennington Show. Chris, who's coming in next?
Dan St. Germain. He's stopping by in around 20 minutes or so.
Stopping by in about 20 minutes or so with Dan St. Germain. What's Dan up to these days? Got something big happening?
Dan's going to be at the Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, Friday, June 19th and Saturday, June 20th. And he'll be performing at the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival next Friday, May 26th in Iowa.
I've never heard of the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival. Is this tied in with the wrestling world?
That I'm not sure. It sounds like it is. I'll find out.
Yeah. I'd love to hear more about it. The Turnbuckle Comedy Festival. This week they're doing a comedy festival in Vegas. A couple weeks another one, I think, in Los Angeles, the Comedy Center. They're just constant with the comedy festivals.
And this is only in the last couple years all these new ones are popping up, right? Like there was before
yes,
that
it was Montreal forever.
Yeah, it was
and then I think Chicago used to do one.
Right.
But now Iowa's doing the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival. They do the Lucy Comedy Festival upstate New York, celebrating Lucy and more. Vito, Little Steven.
That I think yesterday or the day before we were talking about like people that blew your mind when they came in, and that blew away. Like the way I felt when Ted Danson came in, I thought I'd never feel again. And Little Steven, I teared up in here. I just thought about all these memories I've had listening to him and seeing him live, and that was one of the most incredible moments of my life.
That is so sweet.
I'm sorry I drug you into it. I'm sorry I lined you up for a pick with him. That's my fault.
Thank you so much.
Well, remember that the next time you're bad-mouthing me to those fucking friends of yours. He gets together with the other producers and they talk about how shitty the fucking talent is. Yeah. They all rank like who they hate the most. I came in third.
Well, sounds like there's two worse.
Picked up the bronze, so I'm happy with it. I figure when the revolution breaks out, I'll have plenty of time while they're gutting those two guys. But remember that next time. It can't be always bad-mouthing me every chance you get. Boston is next week for their comedy festival. Okay. It's all happening everywhere. There is a piece up on the iBang, and this was taken off a Twitter account. By the way, we got a couple of the millennials here, too, right?
Yes, we do. Sweet Boy, former intern Sweet Boy, and former intern Greg.
We call him by
Greg.
his real name.
Nick.
We never call him Sweet Boy. What?
Nick.
Jeez. That's this idiot calling him Sweet Boy. Why would we? Nick and Round the
That's
World
their
Greg.
private name.
Good to see you guys.
Hey, so good to see you.
No, these are two producers who want to be straight TV guys, and Greg was in, of course, to see George Slaughter today, and you could hear. Now, imagine yourself at, I think he's 84, 86 or whatever, and knowing that you would live that kind of life the way he did.
Yeah, he blew me away. Just to hear all those kind of stories and stuff, and he's a producer, so that's kind of where I want to go.
Yeah,
and he was very inspiring. So,
well, I thought that the most interesting thing is he took very little credit, luck, accidents and luck, but his management style of hold on loosely, the fact that he let people get on outside the box and stuff like that, it's pretty tremendous.
Yeah, there was a story of, and I don't want to give anything away, but him letting somebody go who was a very important part of the show, and just like the kind of kindness and sweetness he
said, you can't keep smoking a bottle.
And I thought that was so sweet because, like,
that's the way I am with my exes. I just off you go, little one, fly. But he brought up Alan Seuss, right? Which I'm sure none of you guys ever heard of before. But Fez Whatley more or less based a lot of his life, not just career, on Alan Seuss. And he was, back then, there would be these gay performers on TV that no one called gay. Paul Lynde was another one, and we just found them to be extremely funny.
Paul Lynde is one that I like later finding out that he was like not known as gay so, I'm like, that guy, nobody said, hey, this guy's definitely gay.
Yeah.
It's just awesome.
Well, none of us did that as kids. We were just like, that guy's funny.
He's so animated.
Yeah. So like animated, never found a bride. Sad. All right. Now, here you are, two millennials. So this was a thread on Twitter that was done by who, Chris?
This was done by...
By the way, what were you typing the entire time that little Steven was here?
I had my... phone had died, so I had to type into the other room.
It felt like somebody was writing a book in the corner while I'm talking. Where I would get up and I would look over at him, and then he would stop, and then later I just hear these little taps. All right, so who was the person who put this together?
This was at Dub Steppenwolf, Stabmaster Arson on Twitter.
So he puts this together, and it's everything that has been accused of being murdered by millennials. And let's go through some of the things, Gail.
All right. So first one is fashion. It's now dead.
Now,
you killed it.
Now, this came from a magazine or a newspaper,
So
right?
this one came from viewthevibe.com and is just, did millennials kill fashion?
Did they kill fashion?
Which I think is kind of interesting because certainly wasn't the whole conversation of the hipster like, oh, they're just fashion, all they care about, like as though they were so stylized.
Yeah.
And I thought that's why we hated young people.
No,
we've
dropped hipster. And we just we're not saying we hate young people who live a certain way.
Right.
We used to do that. Now we just say we hate young people. Period. We hate the young. All right, what else did millennials kill?
How could you do this to focus groups, you monster? Digiday.com writes an article, how millennials killed focus groups. Which
I didn't know how you could do that.
I didn't even know that was something we held so precious.
I did. In my day, I would be like, let me get the focus group numbers on this. All right, what else did millennials murder?
The next one is your obsession with work is killing vacations. And that's, I think, Inc.com wrote an article, are millennials killing vacation?
Now, what's beautiful about that is we accuse them of being lazy and working too hard.
Amazing. How is it possible?
Hate the young. We just despise the young.
We are the scapegoat.
You
for
are.
everything.
You are. Well, I kind of feel for the millennials because most of you enter life in debt, right? Yeah. You enter the adulthood in debt. Mm-hmm. And my thing, for my generation, the point when you were young is to get experience. And by that, I mean travel, sex, drug use. That was what we were like, I got to spend the next few years traveling around having sex while I'm high. Because it didn't occur to us.
I did my life wrong then.
See, my fear, my largest fear was being part of a corporation. But now the millennials have to join the corporate world because they're in debt.
It's not even a want or even the idea of career is kind of like you're just kind of thrown into it and they're like, look, I'll figure out what my passion is, but in the meantime I do have to make some money.
And that's where you end up staying.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You're like, you think that you're working at a fucking 7-Eleven, but you're working your way up the ladder, deeper and deeper into debt. All right, what else did the millennials kill?
The next one came from CBS News. Blame millennials for the vanishing of bar soap. God damn it, we love
Now, is that soap in bars or bars of soap?
Bars of soap.
Yeah.
That is a false statement. I use bar soap still. So.
You use bar soap?
Yes, I do.
Gail, what kind of soap?
I use liquid soap exclusively.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Your liquid super. Yes. It's easier and it's more hygienic, I would imagine.
Also, if you drop the soap,
right.
You don't have to fear as much.
Yes.
Right.
You're using liquid.
You're using
I know that's
liquid.
why I got into the game.
It also could be good to lube yourself up with so you don't have to drop the soap. All right, give us another one that millennials killed.
Business Insider says millennials are killing the napkin industry.
That's true.
God damn it. What did we figure out here that young people stop having to use napkins? They're just so clean?
Yeah.
Maybe
we
from all
learned
that liquid soap.
We learned how to use our mouths correctly.
That's
Speak for yourself, Greg.
The interesting thing is we're using liquid soap and then I guess blowing our hands afterwards. Not one
so
napkin.
glad you said our hands. I didn't know where you were going with that.
Let's see. Next one came from the New York Post. Say goodbye to movie theaters because they're dead. It's your fault, millennials. Millennials are killing the movie business.
I do agree with that one. You guys have taste for shit, and your movies are terrible.
Yeah.
And I blame literally Vito as number one. He's number one. He likes everything shitty.
But don't you think most of those fanboy types actually come from more the Star Wars generation, which are a little bit older? Isn't that really the Gen X generation?
No, they have figured out that 19 to 22 is about the most. I mean, let's face it, the theater is like babysitting.
Right.
It's like a ball pit for young adults. I hate to interrupt this. This is breaking news. the medical examiner said that Chris Cornell of Soundgarden did commit suicide by hanging in Detroit. Suicide by hanging. Now, could it not be one of those jerk-off things that people wrap the belt for?
Like autoerotic asphyxiation.
Oh, God. What did you just say? Take it from the beginning.
Autoerotic asphyxiation.
Have you ever tried this?
No, I've never choked myself while masturbating.
Vito?
Not while masturbating.
Just for what reason?
I've
When
been
you're mad
choked
at
during
yourself?
sex.
Yeah, but that's
Not with
it's
a
not
rope
like
or
having a little
something?
girl.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no.
A little girl hands around your big neck. You got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, no, I've never tried to hang myself. I wouldn't get into that.
Yeah, but they say, I guess, that the orgasm is unbelievable.
Yeah, they say it's better.
I always felt like mine topped out at about a 10. You know what I mean? Like, I never thought, I wish that was better.
I guess it is better.
You know? I have nothing to compare it to. But the rope, the belt around the neck, even if it is great, apparently it causes quite a few problems. But I don't know what was going on with Chris, whether this was done out of depression or, you never know what's in another person's mind. But we said earlier, what a talented guy. I mean, if you ever looked at a guy that you were like, oh, there's a life I'd switch out with. It's Richard Corey one more time. If I'm going to blame anybody, I'm going to blame the millennials on this.
Definitely.
They're young.
There you go.
They're noisy.
That's our fault.
They put avocado in a piece of toast and they call it breakfast.
What's wrong with that?
Well, look at how many things that first, when we were talking about the millennials, the craft beers and beards and all that, and now people are like, no, I do like craft beer. You know what I mean? Like, after bitching about...
This tastes good.
Here's Julian wants to jump in. Julian, what's up?
Hi, guys. Hi, Gail.
Hi.
Rod.
Hey, darling. Good to talk to you, Julian.
Thank you. I miss you guys so much. Okay, anyway, millennials totally ruined rock and roll, and arguably hip-hop, too. Because hip-hop used to be cool, and now it's shitty.
Well, they... Now, would you guys agree with that? All your music's shit, right? You agree with that?
Yeah. The vast majority of our music is shit.
Yeah.
But don't you think it's better than it was like early aughts? Like, don't you think we're like
exactly the same?
I don't know. I think we're moving in a direction of more creative with music than we were in the early aughts. I thought early aughts to even late 90s, I thought was like a complete dead zone of culture.
Here's what I feel like. I feel like I'm sitting in a fire that's 214 degrees, and you're saying to me, it's getting better. It's 212 degrees right now. Why aren't you enjoying yourself? And I'm saying my skin and muscle is burnt.
I'm glass is half full. That's what I'm telling you.
Well, this glass is half full of dog shit. But certainly the thing with with rock and roll is that they did not take the baton. They did not pass the torch. They don't love it as much as I do, because you guys have what, video games? Is that what you'd rather have? You'd rather pretend that you're school shooters or whatever? What are you doing over there with those things?
But just like we were talking about with little Steven, don't you think young people more so have interest in rock and roll music of the past than you could say young people had in, it's not like we young people had that kind of interest in the music that came before them in the 60s.
Yes, because that wasn't rock and roll. Yes, we did.
Right.
Kids that, like me, that came up in the 70s, knew everything there was about fucking rock. Everybody in the fucking 80s, that came up in the 80s, knew the 60s and 70s. This was when we said rock and roll will never die and long will live rock, we weren't fucking around. We meant it. You guys are like, well, rock is one of the things that I like. I like all different things and the same non-passionate thing. When I had little Steven in here, we could have all burst into tears when you could see him welling up. He's not kidding when he's talking about having a love for this music, the way you guys would love, I guess, your liquid soap, or a
not having a napkin.
yeah, the fact that you don't have napkins, the way you love that. Yeah, do you guys have something that you're like, this is my passion, this is what I love, and it isn't making money, it isn't, voting for Trump, but it's something outside of yourself?
I mean, honestly, with me, it's like kind of like, this is not just being like cliche or anything. It's like I love talking to people and learning about their stories and then trying to help people out. Like that's something I do outside of myself. Yeah. Like that's something I do over everything else.
But that's
that's something I'd love to do.
That's a terrible thing to do. I'm talking about really loving your guitar solo while you're tripping. Okay, and you're just fucking screaming. But by the way, you are. There's a reason you get the nickname Sweet Boy. That's an unbelievably sweet thing to say.
Yeah.
You're good people. You're just bad rockers. That's what we're saying right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the problem is, I don't know, there's not any rock and roll really heavy bands out there now.
Yeah.
Most of the bands I listen to that are rock and roll are from the past, Metallica.
So why did you guys not play? What happened? Why don't you have your own musicians?
Well, I don't know. I'm not musically talented in any.
Second that. So I'm not musically talented either.
But what about Cunnilingus? You guys dropped the ball on that. You're not even interested. And Julian, you will back me up on this. I know you date a lot of young guys, and they're just not into going down.
That's false.
Yeah, that is false.
Yeah.
Okay.
False.
I'm glad
I
to
don't know
hear
what you're talking
that.
about, Greg.
Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah, but I'm honestly going to say this too, dude. Through a full bush. You know what I mean? You guys had it easy. Everything was cleared out. I couldn't begin to tell you what I wanted. So
It's coming back. It's
yeah,
coming back.
that was my Vietnam.
Yeah. Well, it's coming back now. It's coming back. So.
Well, you do take full responsibility for killing the planet, right? Everything that's good and cool.
No.
Everything that's good and cool.
I blame the older generation who made stuff so that our generation could use
Fuck it all up.
And I thought that what everyone hated about millennials is they're like, why are they walking around with these shopping bags that they keep reusing? For some reason, that made an older generation really angry.
I don't know. I just think that I think the thing that we hate about you guys, and I'm speaking for I'm going to speak for 3 generations when I say that. We hate your young, hard bodies. We hate your health. Nothing hurts right now on any of you. But I do think that's where a lot of this comes from.
Yeah.
Is if you look, the baby boomers are retiring. The baby boomers hated their parents. Why wouldn't they hate their children? You know what I mean? But you find out they're just hateful people. They weren't exactly
right. And also, they were the first people, the first generation to hang on to youth the way they did. So of course they would be resentful of people who get to experience youth.
Oh God, I hate people that are young and happy. It just drives me nuts. But I will say this: you're hardworking, which I see as a negative thing. You know what I mean? Because you're not out there like Kerouac. Did he work hard? Yes, once he fucking had enough speed in him that he could write down all of his experiences. But I don't know whether a lot of your experiences feel like fake experiences to me. That's what I'll say. Something that you saw in a movie that you're trying to recreate. You know what I'm saying? Something that you could point a fucking selfie. Let me tell you something. If I was younger, if somebody was taking a selfie, they probably would have been beat to death because what we were doing was in secret. It could not be fucking shared. Felony laws were being broken. So if it's safe to take a selfie, this is nothing you want to remember anyway. Okay? You want to remember this stuff that you can't tell until you get older like George Schlatter, and then you're ready to tell those stories. By the way, he is obsessed. George Schlatter was obsessed with Trump putting on some weight.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
He was like, no one is paying attention to this.
Why are they talking about it?
Now, all right, let's go to what you got. Any more of these?
Yes. Millennials, according to Business Insider, killed shopping and retail.
That's false.
Well, listen. There's Amazon. There's things like that. There's the internet. Whoever made the internet.
Oh, it was Al Gore.
Yes. I also know a lot of people that still go around and buy just a shit ton of stuff. Like, it's ridiculous how many people go out and buy. Like,
Maybe
I wish I
because
had
they
the
don't
money
have
that
any
they
money.
did.
Yeah.
So I disagree with that one.
Can I step in on this one?
Yes, you can step in on all of them.
Because I worked behind the scenes in retail for a long time, and millennials have definitely ruined fashion and the planet in conjunction with that.
Wow.
Because of how many factories have to be running to push out millions and millions and millions of pieces of clothing.
So it's young people who did this?
Millennials.
That doesn't make any sense.
It does, though.
That
It
makes
does.
zero sense.
It does when you're pointing your finger at
No,
them.
that really makes no sense.
But as buyers and stuff, like we have
Yes.
teams of buyers that do this, and they are young people. They are my age, but it's
Right.
older people, obviously, who started these retail companies, obviously. Boomers.
To me, I love and China has this, we need it in this country, is a combination preschool clothing factory where the youngsters can get in there. They use their little fingers to sew up sneakers for us. And those same sneakers go across the country, if you watch this, to Rich Voss, where he stacks them up obsessively
Sneakerhead
in
Rich
his
Voss.
home. Yeah, he does like his sneakers. He's crazy about it. So the young people are wrong about everything, and that is great. Julian, thanks so much for sharing.
Thanks so much, Ron. Have a great day. Bye, guys.
Bye. She has an adorable voice, doesn't she?
She does.
She is Brazilian. Brazilian from the country of what, Chris?
Brazil.
You got the right answer. That's a funny, that's a funny and interesting way to go with a bit. Brazil, you are right.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Chris nailed it. Now you got something exciting for us too, right, Chris?
Yeah, Dan St. Germain's coming up in just a moment. Dan St. Germain is
I
coming.
want you to go back and listen when you said Dan Jake Jane.
Dan St. Germain's coming up in just a moment. Dan will be at the Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, Friday, May 19th, and Saturday, May 20th. And then for tickets, go to undergroundcomedydc.com. And he'll be performing at the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival next Friday, May 26th in Iowa. Go to codfishhollowbarnstormers.com for tickets.
That's a long one. That's
Yeah.
longer than George Slaughter's was, and he's got a box set. Now, when we come back, we'll talk about this. They've done another best burger list. I forget who put this, Vito. You found this story, so tell me who put it on.
So it was just a poll the Business Insider found. They polled 100,000 people on what the best burger and fast food was.
Well, you know, I don't even know if I call all these burgers fast food. Some of them are
fast casual.
Yeah, I guess fast casual. I would say
Biz
medium.
cash.
I would say medium. And how much time do you expect it? Because some of these places, what makes them better is that when you order the burger, they start to cook it at that second. There's not 8 burgers already cooking and like, oh, which one of these do you want?
Right.
Do you have a place that you go for burgers?
I used to go to this place called Bear Burger, but then I turned.
That's not. Yeah, but that's not fast food at all, right?
But it is chain, right?
It's a chain,
And
yeah.
these things are the ones that are at the top are chains, but I wouldn't necessarily consider them a fast food the way that we say Hardee's is fast food.
And that one's a waiter service, so I feel like that wouldn't count.
Where a waiter comes to you? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
about
Bear Burger's like a Bear Burger's
But
a
you
restaurant.
told me Bear Burger sucks. That's why I never went to it.
Yeah, because I ended up hating it.
But I thought it was made out of bear, but you said no. It's bear what?
It's
aspirin?
This giant aspirin they give you, and they cover it in fucking ketchup.
What is it actually?
They have actual it's like grass fed. They say it's grass fed. They also have ostrich burgers and like kangaroo burgers. They have a bunch of weird meats.
Now, I don't know whether you think like corn fed and grass fed is different, but I went to this place and you would get a steak that was one side was corn fed and then they had another steak was grass fed, and you could taste the difference. You're like, oh, this tastes grassier.
It was really, really
Yeah.
strange. That was at Colicchio's old place.
Tom Colicchio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never thought I would have been able to pick it up. And you're like, oh, this you can actually taste like green. Like
You do it immediately
it's so
as soon
strange.
as you taste, and then it's up to you when you decide which is better or which isn't better. But if you guys said, "Where's the best burger?" Not just a burger because you're in a millennial Harry in between your 7 jobs, and while you're destroying the planet and hurting, I believe, the internet.
Mm-hmm. Also golf.
What is your best burger?
We're talking about fast food, right?
Any kind.
Any kind.
Just give me any kind of burger. You're like, here's my cheeseburger place.
I have to go with probably the Ritz Diner in my town, honestly.
Right.
That's the best burger I've ever
I know
had.
the Ritz Diner. What town is that? Livingston?
Livingston, yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. Personally, I'd order breakfast there before I ordered a burger. When some place has a breakfast 24 hours, I'm going to say, well, this is one of the 24.
Yeah.
I can't always get breakfast in one of the 24. What about you, Greg? When you're from Australia and you lived in China.
Shake Shack.
Shake Shack.
Yeah.
That's a
or
good burger.
the other one that's very good is Steak and Shake. Steak and Bake? Steak and Shake.
Steak and Shake.
Yeah. Those are
Steak
the
and
two.
Shake, yeah. I will tell you this. Both of those made the top 10. The Ritz Diner did not make
Yes.
the top 10 because it's a national vote.
Yeah.
And they only have the one place in Livingston, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Now, Gail, where for you?
For me, I have to go Five Guys. Five Guys
Five
is my
Guys.
favorite.
That was what I was going to say if I
Yeah.
didn't.
Go
Yeah,
to
it's awesome.
like I'm just if I have a burger craving, it's usually the first place I think of.
Now, I had that first at the original place in Virginia. This is when I was working in D.C. And then I was at a meeting with the couple that owned Five Guys, and the original name was about him and his 3 boys. Then they had 2 more boys, and they go, okay, these are the Five Guys, these kids. But they were 2 nice people, and they're like, well, we're hoping to turn this into a chain. I don't know whether it's a good idea or not. We're kind of nervous about it. I had their food with them and the guy that was putting this together, and I believe they've done okay. But we were like, JFK used to do that, so we were kind of announcing as they were opening up. This was just new places in the D.C. area. They were just going around D.C. first. But the original people would drive forever to get to that Five Guys. Now, mine in New York City, and by the way, I've had Five Guys here, and then at the original, and the original is better. I don't know what it is. I couldn't tell you.
But
is it the grill, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah.
Because they do everything the same way. But that other place, I mean, I used to drive like 45 minutes to get to it. And I'd be going like this. I think I'm getting fries the whole way. I'd be excited about it. You think I should get fries? But for me, it's Burger Joint, which is a little place that's hidden inside a hotel here. There's no sign, just a little neon light of a burger. And you go into this glamorous hotel, and it's this shitty little dive in there. But they've opened up another one down in the Village, and I got to tell you, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Yeah, that place is fantastic. And I can like still remember the first time I went there. I was like, holy shit.
But there's a lot of really great burger places in New York City that are one-offs. You know what I mean? Now, some of these places you're going to spend $28 for a burger. And that gets me ready to stab people. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of $30 burgers in New York City.
Okay, I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't make it. I said there's a bunch of them. You got mad and said there's a lot. I said the wrong words. I'm sorry. But the point is this, okay? No matter how delicious it is, you're still in the back of your mind. You're still like doing
Yeah.
the $5 shake.
Yeah, I kind of have to have the cheaper burger. To me, there's something that I prefer that to fancy burger.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I have a place in Brooklyn in Red Hook called Hope and Anchor, and like again, obviously not fast food prices. It's a sit down kind of dinery place, but it's like it looks a little nicer. So you're like, oh, is this pricey? But it's not too bad. But they have a fantastic burger, Hope and Anchor in Red Hook.
You believe maybe the best burger you've ever had?
I think.
Would you go so far as to say that?
I would say I wouldn't put it over Burger Joint.
Then why would I go there?
Because it's a different burger.
I would go anywhere to get the best. But if you're telling me that's the second or third, I'm not going there. So, Chris, yours was what? Hardee's?
No, Hardee's. It
McDonald's?
No, I did have the, there's a new Big Mac where it's a Big Mac with quarter pounder patties, and it was actually fucking great.
I never heard of this.
Yeah, it's called like the Big Quad or something. It's some weird.
What?
Yeah, it's a
Vito,
different name.
did you know about this?
No, I didn't know about this, and I watched The Founder.
What did you think of The Founder?
I thought it wasn't a great movie. I didn't know all that about McDonald's. I wouldn't go out and say everybody should go see it, but it was like a fun hour and a half.
Well, I did know the story that the McDonald's brothers were pushed out of McDonald's by the founder, Ray Kroc. That's been written many, many times. But my problem was I didn't care which side they were on. I thought I didn't think that the McDonald's brothers had done a wonderful thing by making, the fucking assembly line.
Yeah.
Like they had a thing where you could pull a thing and like 8 things of ketchup would come out on these 8 burgers that they made at the same time. And they're just pushing around. I'm like, well, that's shitty. So you people are shitty. And then, they sold it. I can't, they sold it.
They didn't make Ray Kroc like a big villain in the movie. And then like you were kind of following him the whole way. So you're naturally going to end up kind of rooting for him because you're with him from the beginning of the movie. And he never does anything that bad until that speech at the end.
You probably weren't paying attention because he stole somebody's thing. He cut them out. He told everyone that he founded the company and this was the first one. And he took one of the other guy's wives.
I forgot that was really bad when he when he was saying to people, I'm the founder of the McDonald's, and they were getting pissed.
And he also said this other deal's on a handshake and cut them out, their families out of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Now that I look back on it, that was a pretty bad dude.
Well, I didn't like him even when he played Batman. I thought he was up to something. And when he was Mr. Mom, I thought Ray Kroc was an asshole. Should we break here, Chris?
Yeah, let's take a quick break.
All right, we'll come back and give you out the numbers. The number one. When we get back, Bennington.
Welcome back to Bennington. Comedian Dan St. Germain's in studio. Dan's going to be at the Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, Friday, May 19th, and Saturday, May 20th. Go to undergroundcomedydc.com for tickets. And Dan will be performing at the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival next Friday, May 26th in Iowa. Go to codfishhollowbarnstormers.com for tickets.
And, you know, Dan was part of the same show that you and I did in Austin, which was the Skanks. And I could not.
I had a horrible set.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well,
that was the only bad. Like, I did really badly. And then afterwards, Louis Gomez was like, "No, you did good. It was great." Like, no, man, I know when I do good.
Well, Louis, the thing was, it was Louis's idea, and it made no sense.
Yeah.
He was like, "You're going to debate who's the best kind of racist, and the north or the south." I go, "That isn't a debate, Louis. What you're saying is complete insanity. And by the way, your whole show is high, and now I have to walk out here and do this." But that's playing, I think, next week, right, Chris?
Next Wednesday gets released on a guest.
When Armageddon hits, he's going to be like the Johnny Carson of Armageddon. You know what I mean? Like when it's post-apocalyptic, he's going to be like, "Today on the show we have a Puerto Rican fighting a black guy."
Well, Chris went full heel.
Yes.
Who did you base that on, by the way? Was it $1 Million Man?
It was more like a Rick Rude type thing.
Okay, Rick Rude. Very nice. I wish you would have spray painted on your pants the other people's wives and girlfriends.
When I think of Chris, I think of Rick Rude.
Yes.
The same body type.
Definitely.
Oh, you fat, lazy, Austin asshole.
He's talking about himself.
Take a look at a real man.
I think he's talking about himself.
So that's on next week. I'm glad that you're uncomfortable with it. You know, no one should feel comfortable about one of Lewis's ideas, you know?
I love Louis, but yeah, I sucked on it. I want to get Sarah Tiana on who's hotter, Southern girls or Northeastern girls. And Sarah's like a pretty Southern girl. So it's like, who's going to win that? Even in the review of it, they're like, he didn't have a shot. You know?
Yeah. And yes.
And I was bad on top of that.
Yeah. Didn't work out all the way around.
Yeah.
All right, Vito, do you have the list of the 10 burgers? Because you were just saying as you came into the room, Whataburger is your favorite burger.
Fast food. Fast food, obviously.
Yeah, it's got to be a fast food burger. All right, count us down from 10 up.
All right, so coming in at number 10 is Steak and Shake.
Interesting.
Steak and Shake, I always kind of like their fries.
Yeah.
And it's a very thin burger, but they kind of make sure they burn it, which if you're ever in the moment, but a good shake.
Who is this according to, by the way?
Yeah, who is this according to? Is Business Insider?
Business Insider put up this poll of 100,000 people from
and
around
they do
the
it
country.
every year, right?
Yes.
Okay. So 10 is Steak and Shake.
Number 9 is Smash Burger.
I don't even think I know a Smash Burger.
Where is Smash Burger?
I think Smash Burger's in New York. I feel like the name's familiar.
I've heard it, but I've never been there.
Well, then we know it's not New York. We're all sitting here in New York right now. And if you said Minnetonka Tavern, we'd all know who you're talking about. You know, there's singles. So let's now, does Smash Burger have anything to do with the Hulk? Which would be great.
Smash Burger is in New York, but I've never eaten there.
In the city?
In the city, in Manhattan, yes.
Now, this is supposed to be a chain, right?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this chain.
Me either.
No.
I've never eaten there, but I think I've heard of it. But
And now I feel when I go, they're ninth.
Number 8 is Sonic.
That's surprising. They're the one with the. I've never been there because I'm past the age where I can have a blue soda and feel like I could survive it.
I was really excited. I was driving through Arizona, and when I saw us, because like there's no Sonics anywhere near here. No, I mean there's no Sonics in this area.
Well, no, because it's a drive-in. So over here, they're not going to put it in New York.
But I pulled in, and I would say the drinks kind of the exciting factor. I thought the burger was a burger.
Even their commercials, they sell the drinks.
Yeah,
they sell the milkshakes and stuff. It's that fast food place is a real death as far as like when you're feeling depressed. That's like the Amy Winehouse of fast food.
Okay,
you know, where you're just
all right, I like that.
I'm going to eat this until I'm dead.
Now, do I let my makeup all come down my face, like my eye, it's just running, and just.
Sexy. So now,
thanks, Chris.
Coming in at number 7, big ups to Ray Kroc, McDonald's.
McDonald's still in the top 10, after all these years.
Yeah, that's weird, but they're going like a gourmet thing lately. I don't know if you've seen their commercials. They have like art house burgers.
They're all over the place. There's some of them that are Mick Coffee Houses. Some of them are Mick Lettuce Farms.
Oh, McCafe's nice.
Yeah, they don't know what they want. So, that's the weird thing. Like, they used to be like, whatever McDonald's you went into, it was the same thing. But now you can see the desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you're in Maine, those is like, and we also have lobster roll. You're like, no, you don't.
McDonald's does feel like a Mitt Romney in a Donald Trump world.
Okay, I like that idea. We've moved on. We're Trumping, and yet you're still walking around with your Mormon values.
Yeah.
Number 6 is Whataburger.
Whataburger comes in at number 6.
For higher. That Monterey melt. Wow.
And we've got some beautiful mugs that have been sent to us today, right?
Yes, this is so exciting. This is from Bob Fonseca, who Whataburger is his favorite burger joint.
Well, congratulations, Bob. You came in number 6, right out of the running for the top 5. But this is a very nice.
Yes.
This is like a ceramic.
It's a very it's a nice thing. And by the way, also we got sent a bunch of stuff from Carissa. She sent a ton of jewelry. Carissa makes this incredible jewelry where she encases there's bug wings, there's leaves.
Well, first of all, this is a wing. It's like a moth wing. It's kind of gorgeous.
Yeah. This is so, so pretty. So everyone should check out her site because it's really, really unique stuff. It's Remedy Designs on Etsy. So check her stuff out because it's really cool. But I can't believe how much stuff that she sent. There's just this stuff is so beautiful.
I like this because it's something that a serial killer would do.
I love this one.
I'd wear me. Would you wear me?
The dragonfly one is so crazy. I love it. Yeah, that is so neat.
Wow, that's
and
wild.
I know you're into bug wings, so check it out.
That was my nickname.
But for a different reason. He got his bug wings, as we used to say.
Really cool, right?
All right, where are we? Number 6 was Whataburger.
Number 6 was Whataburger.
Number 5?
Culver's.
It's Culver's.
I don't know Culver's.
Never heard of Culver's before.
That sounds Midwestern to me. It sounds like when you're in the mood for good American food, go to Culver's.
Yeah, I've never heard of Culver's. I don't know if it's one of those ones.
It's like a Denny's, I think.
Then we got a familiar face coming in at number 4, Wendy's.
Wendy is a familiar face.
Wendy's. No, that's the ugly girl.
Yeah, Dave's daughter.
Yeah, I mean that's the face that you don't want to see on your restaurant, and he put it up there because he said you're always pretty to Dad. And all right, so we're now bronze medal after all this time. Shocked that Whataburger did not make top 3, huh?
It's my favorite fast food burger. I mean, I thought Five Guys is great too, but
yeah,
Whataburger.
But you prefer Whataburger?
There's 2 Culvers in the city, so if you guys want to see what they're all talking about,
no, I don't see that or Smash Burger.
So number 3, getting the bronze medal. Shake Shack.
Wow. Shake Shack.
Wow, I thought that
I didn't even think that they're like a chain yet.
They're like too nice. It's also kind of weird. It's like it's like Smith and Walensky at number 2.
Now the thing about Shake Shack is they used to have the lines. Do they still? Because I'm not getting in the line for food.
I don't know if they still have the line. The last time I went,
it's 2 hours
at City. They have one at City Field, and if you get on that line, you're spending 3 innings.
Yeah, I'm not doing that, dude.
What's the point of buying tickets to a game if you're going to be on a line for 3 hours?
I don't care if I had nothing to do. I'm not standing on line for that long.
Give me a 7-Eleven burger.
Because 3 innings is 7 hours right now.
Well, and like Shake Shack, there's so many of them around the city now that I don't think there's as many people going to individual locations.
Okay. Number 2?
Number 2 is In-N-Out.
Oh, In-N-Out. Now that was the past champion.
Yeah.
People in California are going to be ruined over this.
They had one in Austin that I kept talking about wanting to go to, and then I never made it out there.
Yeah.
Fucked up.
And rounding it out with the gold medal, it's Five Guys.
All right, there they go. Five Guys, you picked it, Gail.
I picked it.
It's real good.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it doesn't even really taste like fast food. I don't know what it even tastes like.
I always go there.
It's like a solid diner burger.
I always go there and just order the hot dog just to freak everybody out. Give me a hot dog. They go, you haven't tried our burger? I go, really? I'm happy with the hot dog.
Take it out of a jar from labeled 2006.
Nobody does this.
I get the patty melt.
What's that?
They have a patty melt that I get there.
What kind of bread?
Just like regular rye bread.
Well, regular rye bread. I mean, there's all kinds of rye. You know what I mean?
Just seeded, unseeded. Come on, what are you talking about?
Just brown rye bread.
Brown rye bread. And now you're starting to sound pumpernickel to me. I'm going to be totally honest here.
That would be great. I would eat a pumpernickel patty melt in a second.
All right, some of you folks want to jump in on it, but plug first, Chris.
Dan St. Germain's in studio. Dan will be at the Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, Friday, May 19th, and Saturday, May 20th. Go to undergroundcomedydc.com for tickets, and Dan will be performing at the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival next Friday, May 26th in Iowa. Go to codfishhollowbarnstormers.com for tickets.
And Dan, would you still come if it was a terrorist attack, or would you left us on our own over here?
Well, I would have still come.
Oh,
I walked over.
I love that about you.
Nice. I walked over. I thought it was a terrorist, and I was like, hey, is it cold? Because they said Times Square was shut down, so I didn't know if it was fine.
I thought we were going to talk to Hard Rock Johnny, who's right there at Times Square at the Hard Rock. Hey, Terry in Wisconsin. Terry.
Hey, Culver's is a Midwest-based company out of Wisconsin. They're famous for frozen yogurt and a butter burger.
Oh, they put butter burgers. Yeah, I've heard of those.
I've heard of that, too.
Now, people are saying they're not in the city, that you lied to me, Vito.
Oh, I'm looking at Google Maps right now.
And there's two where?
Oh, so Google threw out 2 Culver Amhersts at me.
Okay, so look, if this was a heart operation, then my patient would have died. I need you on point at all time. Luckily for you, this is just a dumb radio show that's on a satellite.
That guy had the voice of a butter burger.
Yeah, he did. He was.
Here's
butter burger.
Here's the delicious. Put it on and put the cream cheese on my hot dog.
It's butter burger.
John, Oklahoma.
Yeah, first of all, the last guy was wrong. Okay. Culver's has frozen custard, not frozen yogurt.
Okay, and, thank you. Yeah.
Smash Burger is awesome. They have these like smash fries that they toss with like olive oil and like rosemary and thyme and shit.
Are they smashed?
They're the bomb.
I mean, do you get smashed?
Well, no, their burgers are smashed. Like they just put beef on the grill and just smash the shit out of it.
I like the sound.
Smash them. Let's get a picture of that burger, Chris.
Because I love a thin patty. I'm a thin patty.
And like here in Oklahoma, they have like a regional one where they put
just looks like a regular burger to me.
Jalapenos and onion strings and shit. It's pretty good.
Well, first of all, no burgers ever look like the picture that's put on the menu. Yeah, no. It's never happened in history. And 2, that doesn't seem that smashed to me. You want it really thin, right?
Yeah.
Like paper.
Yeah.
Paper Burger is a new place we're trying to open up right now. And John, Illinois. What's up, John?
Hey guys, I'm surprised that In-N-Out only made number 2. I mean, when you go there, you need to order animal style, which they throw fries on it. They throw tons of lettuce, the cheese they cook inside the burger. I mean, everything.
I don't want my fries on my sandwich. I don't understand why anybody does. It's fine right there. It's the side.
Mix it up.
There's the reason why we call it a side. But they take everything that should be on the plate and put it on the burger. Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, I'll do that with chips on a sandwich, but I don't do it with fries on a burger.
They do that in Jersey, like at Rutgers. They have all those.
Oh, yeah, those trucks, right?
Those trucks. It's just heart attack.
Garbage plate.
Hoagies.
Well, they're not plates over there, though. They're sandwiches, right?
It's
the
sandwich.
garbage plate is upstate, Rochester, and it's anything that's left over, I believe, is cooked for 3 o'clock in the morning for drunk people with a lot of cheese on it. And they're very happy about it, but it's one of those things that hasn't swept the nation the way that wings did. Like when wings came out, people were like, why would I just eat the wings? There's nothing on there. And now they've created this whole thing where a lot of the wings aren't even actual real wings.
What?
Yeah, they're fake wings.
Oh, that's disgusting.
What are they?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
I don't know, but they're like, we don't have this many chickens to break the wings off.
Oh, my God.
Hey, Scott, Tallahassee, what's up?
Hey, Ron, I just wanted to back Dan up with how good the Whataburger is. And not only is the burger great, but they have the best ketchup in America.
Oh, my God, I agree. Spicy ketchup.
Now, here's the thing. You're in the Panhandle. Somebody told me that was different than the Texas Whataburger, that it's almost 2 different companies. Because I was in the Panhandle of Florida at Whataburger, and the girl behind said, before you eat this, sit on the toilet and eat it. She goes, it's the safest way. So I go, oh, that sounds scary. And they put a screen under you. And you don't even touch the metal. You just go straight through. Whataburger. So it's the way they work it out. But Joe in Utah, Joe.
Yeah, I want to say the other guy was an idiot, complete idiot. When you order animal style, they do not put fries on the burger. It's,
I'm glad to hear that,
grilled
Joe.
Onions. What's that?
I'm glad to hear that. I don't like any place that throws fries on the sandwich and acts like they're doing something well. They're not. Because it's up to me. I could always throw the fries on the sandwich.
Yeah.
I don't. I live in a society, and I'm trying to keep some order here.
Civilized.
All right. So here's Dave in Dearborn. Dave. Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hey, I was just going to say we just heard on the news that was a drunk driver in Times Square.
It was a drunk driver, not a terrorist, and not what I had initially said, one of those Trump kids. I was really hoping...
Quick to report
but
that.
Tiffany?
This has blown off. You would think the fact that Chris Cornell killed himself today, or Roger Ailes from Fox News died, would be the number one story, or Trump and the special investigator. No, right now, it's what happened in Times Square. As soon as they figure out it's a drunk, they're out of there.
They're done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't
It's
mean
just
anything.
a guy on his way to Smash Brothers.
No.
Smash Burger.
Here's a guy that, well, he not only has a fine burger over at the Hard Rock, but he also came up with the motto, dessert is part of the meal. It's our own Hard Rock Johnny. Johnny.
Bennington, dessert is always part of the meal.
Now, Johnny manages the Hard Rock in Times Square. It was his idea to put pants on the wall. Up to that point, nobody else was doing it. Whoever your famous rock star is, you can go see the pants. Two reasons you're in the news today. Johnny had a rock star just walking off the street yesterday. And then also, of course, today, big accident right in front of your place.
So, yeah, the rock star yesterday was just so random that out of nowhere...
And an unannounced rock star came in.
Yeah, he came in. So what we're doing, if you remember last year when we ambushed your show with all that memorabilia for the auction...
I love that, dude.
Well, we can do it again tomorrow if you want, but so we have that auction again. You know, it's a new auction with new items, and it's tomorrow. Or no, Saturday, I'm sorry. So we have like this display that has all these, like, you know, there's a Townsend guitar, which is one of the big items. There's a Slash guitar and top hat that he played at the Super Bowl. And Greg Allman came in and
that's big.
Walked down the stairs, and there was a bunch of tourists looking at everything. And he goes, "Everybody just get out of the way for a minute. I need to take a few pictures." And everybody listened, and they got out of the way, and he snapped a few pictures of the display.
Was he looking for Allman Brothers stuff or just everything?
He was looking at what was there. There's only like maybe 15 or 20 items, but apparently he likes. Maybe he's looking at bidding on some stuff. Like, I don't know if they tend to, guys like him and so a lot of these rock stars tend to be collectors of great music stuff because they have a history of the music. And there's a lot of there's some amazing, like one of the big things on this auction is John Lennon's hand drawn sketch of what he thought Sgt. Pepper's cover should look like, and it's
wow. I would love to see that. Yeah.
Really cool.
Well, it's if you look at it, it's like they really just used his sketch as the cover, like even down to like the really good looking girl to the right side. That's in the picture, and it's like the concept, and it's a very small sketch. It's like on a cocktail napkin. It's really tiny. So there's a whole Beach Boy section. There's a lot of Beach Boy items that are like lyrics that they wrote and things. So I think a lot of these guys who are historians, because they've been in the music world for so long, they want to, maybe buy it. So maybe they shouldn't buy some stuff. But
I would love
random.
I mean, to me, that would be one of the coolest things ever to have. Just because it was drawn with his hand. But I always remember that album cover. I got obsessed with the guy with the glasses on and tried to figure out, like, who's the guy that's so cool that he's wearing shades on the front of this thing. And it was Terry Southern, the writer. And then I went out and read everything that he ever did and watched all the movies and stuff. But isn't that a weird way to get into? Like, who's that fucking dude? Seems like he's got his shit together. And then I found out he had written a funny erotic novel called Candy that turned the world on its ear And he also wrote Dr. Strangelove.
Oh,
Which,
wow.
Yeah.
I've never read any Teddy Southern. I love Dr. Strangelove, though.
You would, I think you would, but you got to put him in the age that he was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's somewhat dated, but he also wrote Easy Rider. So he was a dude that was just all over the 60s having the fucking time of his life, you know? Just like, Hard Rock Johnny is right now. He's all over the teens having the time of his life. By the way, I'm seeing this. Smashburger is reading all of our tweets, even when they're not tagged in them. And this guy, Brad Austin, wrote, "I'd rather have a day-old White Castle than a Smashburger." And then Smashburger wrote back, "That's depressing."
They're not even defending themselves. They're making themselves sad.
Yeah. Now, Jermaine Lassier said, "Am I the only one who keeps hearing Chris say, dancing Jermaine?"
Dancing Jermaine.
Dan Saint Germain.
He's hearing dancing.
Yeah, I've gotten Dancing Jermaine a lot. Which somebody thought that's what my name was in college. Like, so they thought I was going to come in and just do the Charleston.
So that Jermaine Lassier thought that you were attacking him by calling him Dancing Jermaine.
I was not. I'm just plugging the Dan Saint Germain will be at the Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C.
you.
The what?
The Big Hunt Comedy
You know that
Club.
what you just
That's
said,
a
right?
hard one.
Yeah.
That's a hard one.
I heard something different.
You
Big
said
Hunt.
as we used to say, the cunt word. Mommy, he said the cunt word.
That's it. The Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C. Go to undergroundcomedydc.com for tickets. That's tomorrow night and Saturday night. And Dan's performing at the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival next Friday, May 26th in Iowa. Go to codfishhollowbarnstormers.com for tickets.
That's a tough one to remember, right?
It's tough. They should have just settled on one of those.
Yeah.
Turnbuckle.com.
Well, they know this for a fact. No one's going to copy that. They're going to be on their own. So, Hard Rock, did you go running outside to see the accident?
I did not. I was at about 11:50 strolling down to Port Authority because I only worked a half a day today. So I left before the unfortunate.
Sounds like somebody's Coke shipment arrived early this morning. When you work in the... Gotta take a little half day for myself while I snort up this Coke.
I had to. I'm working Saturday, so 6 days. I figure I'd take a half day.
You know, I'm not your boss. You don't have to make up excuses to me.
But
Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. I don't think anybody should work. If it was up to me.
That Johnny Go-Go might be listening. You know, the guy.
Oh, that's right. Johnny Go-Go is your boss. All right. I'm glad that you're safe, and I'm glad that wasn't you driving that.
No,
I know
yeah,
you
it was,
drink quite a
all
bit. All right. Talk to you later, Johnny. You're the best.
Just hit him once before you get him out.
No, you're quite the alcoholic, so thank God that wasn't you.
Yeah, have a good night.
Joe Lieberman is the front runner for the FBI director.
What?
Holy shit.
How?
Yeah.
I don't think of him as a lawman.
At the head of the FBI?
Yes.
This fucking makes no sense.
Joe Lieberman, too, is one of those guys that just keeps getting worse, huh?
Yeah.
The longer he is, it's just like, you're just like, this guy's a nightmare.
If I was Jewish, I would be cringing anytime people, you know what I mean? Because like people go, oh, typical, you know what I mean?
Right.
We're not all like that. Some of us are assertive, but I can't see Joe Lieberman being assertive.
No, and with the entire country. This makes no sense. Get him the fuck out of there.
I guess they want to make sure that it looks like they're being somewhat bipartisan. I don't know.
He has no experience in law enforcement, right?
No, whatsoever. No. I mean, the closest he came is he used to tell on talkers when he was in third grade. You know what I mean? Like, I'm leaving the room. Joe's going to be watching and writing the names down.
All right.
Yeah. Did you ever have those kids that would write fucking talkers' names down when you're...
Yeah.
I couldn't believe those fuckers.
Yeah.
I would
The worst.
never do that. Who would take the job of snitch?
There are some kids that are born snitch. If I found out my kid had that job, I'm like, you're fucking quitting tomorrow. because
I remember one day I did do one, like when I was in fourth grade, I was picked on so much. I I ratted everybody out.
First of all, I like that, but it's hard to believe you were picked on. When did they pick on you for the big beard?
I was a disaster. Yeah, big beard.
Really? You were a problem child?
Yeah. Well, no, I was just picked on. Like, I was really nerdy and sensitive.
You're fucking kidding me.
Yeah. And then I started doing drugs in ninth grade, and I got out of my shell.
That helps. That will help you make friends.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's always like, how do I fit with the cool kids? Show up with some weed.
Yeah.
Fucking good weed, by the way. Don't come in with any of that fucking stems and sticks that fucking Vito carries around. But you're going like this, hey, cool guys, I got some hash. And everyone was like, fuck, it's so good to see you, man. What have you been up to? What's happening with you?
Yeah.
If you don't have a pool, then get some drugs.
Get some drugs.
Having a pool is a great idea, too. Or a hot sister. You know what I mean? You just find a fucking way. Because the cool kids, let's face it, they're in fucking ninth grade, so they're not that cool. They can be fucking swayed.
They can be bought.
Yeah.
Everyone can be bought.
Yeah, everybody can be bought.
But I'm also sober now, so just let that go to a point.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the point, I mean, and I admire anybody who takes it as far as they can and says that's to stop. What I don't like is the people who have never tried anything. They remind me of the kind of people who haven't tried sushi yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
What's your problem?
You just don't trust it, right?
Right. You're like, you don't trust yourself. Like, I don't know, maybe I'll break.
I had a friend in college who was like the only one, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, and it was very suspicious to everyone.
Sure, of course it is.
And this dude would be like, oh my God, you were crazy last night. You would say, shut the fuck up, dude. We don't talk like that. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be the one sober person who the next day gets to tell everyone you were being weird, you were being crazy,
that's
you
fucked
were
up.
being
You can't come
slutty.
around.
You were like, shut up.
Yeah.
Then you're not invited because
you were being a bummer, and you know what? You're a bummer today too. You're always a bummer.
You don't want one like sober witness who's there to report everything that happened the night before.
It's always funny how that can, turn on you too. I remember in high school, there was a girl who showed up that everybody thought was a narc, and everyone's because she was a new girl. Everyone called her a narc. I took her out that night, okay? And I can't tell you how appreciative she was. I still remember you this day. You've made a friend. Congratulations, Sonny. Chris, I know you don't like to plug, but I got to ask you to do it because you've been saying Dancing Jermaine for fucking 10 plugs and people are confused.
I'm going to say it correctly this time. Dan St. Germain. Dan is in studio. Dan will be at the Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, Friday, May 19th and Saturday, May 20th. Go to undergroundcomedydc.com for tickets. And Dan will be performing at the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival next Friday, May 26th in Iowa. Go to codfishhollowbarnstormers.com on Twitter at DSGermain.
Here is Scott in California. Scott.
Hey, first of all, I just wanted to say a big fan of the show, especially of Gail.
Oh, hey, thanks.
Come on in.
You're so sweet.
But, it's so odd to me how attached people get to their burger joints. I mean, I say this as one of them because I'm from California. Obviously, I'm an In-N-Out fan.
In-N-Out, people go crazy over it.
They do, and especially when you're from California. It's not okay if you like anything else.
They get very upset with you. Like you'll land there and people are like, "I'm taking you an In-N-Out burger." You're like, I've eaten it before. I'm fine." No, I want to take you.
Chris DiStefano just came in.
Yes,
studio.
I walked in. I'm sorry. I walked in. I apologize. I thought Opie was in here.
Here's what I
sorry.
You are always welcome.
Thank you.
You are always welcome. Come on in. How's everything going with you right now?
I appreciate it. Everything's going all right.
Good.
I just found out my pilot didn't get picked up. So
then everything's not going all right.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's going all right through meditation. Like I'm trying to do a lot of things to make it all right. But what am I going to do, man?
Dude, Chris drove me home. We went to the state of New York, and he drove me back to my apartment. And I had just 2 weeks ago, I'd stopped seeing this girl that I really liked, and his pilot just didn't go.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was the most miserable, depressing car ride. Adele, we played Adele.
Oh, yeah, Adele. Well, no, we didn't even play Adele. Adele just was on every station.
We were fine with it.
Yeah, I loved it. I enjoyed it. And hey, man, it's this business is a mother effort.
Oh, yes, it is. But here's the funny thing. Anywhere I go, people say just nothing but wonderful things about you right now. So, I mean, you're not going to get another pilot, but no, you never know. I mean, I know a lot of people who've done this time and time and time again. You got a great story behind this and all.
I had a whole plan. I was going to go 3 seasons, do an Unmasked with you. It was going to be great. I was going to finally get into Moon Tower Comedy Festival. I was going to take off. But now I'm just, still in Bay Ridge.
Yeah.
With no air conditioning.
Maybe they'll have middle-aged Geico.
Middle-aged Geico.
Yeah. The people didn't get the shows off Guy Code. Divorce Guy Code. That's what I'll be doing. Yeah, single dad Guy Code. I'll be.
Daddy doesn't live with us anymore. Code?
Shouldn't have knocked up a Puerto Rican Guy Code.
By the way, divorced dads. Is there anything sadder? Because they try to act like they're still involved in it, but they're not.
My dad and my mom, who are separated right now, my dad, this happened a couple weeks ago. He came to see me at the Stand Comedy Club, great club, and he came early. And I guess some girl was going to come with him to the show. It was like she was going to come late, and I was like, she can't come late, Dad. They got to be here at a certain time. And and he gave me attitude, and I was like, you know what, this is you're messed up. And he goes, you know what, Dan, I'm not going to take this. And he gets up from the table, and this is the craziest thing. This is in the stand, and his bag opens, and all his parrot food falls out on the floor. It was like the most divorced thing I've ever seen. And he walks out, and the poor waitress from the stand had to broom and sweep up my dad's parrot food. It was the most divorced thing I've ever seen.
Didn't you say also too, like 2 weeks before that, he tried to buy a houseboat? Which is a couple months ago.
Thing. Yeah, he was like, I've been looking into houseboats. He almost bought an abandoned lighthouse.
What is he doing with him and his parrot in the lighthouse, like Will Ferrell in Anchorman 2?
It's like if a Jimmy Buffett song had sex with a Holocaust documentary.
That's your dad.
That is the thing of there's other things I can do in life. I can live in a houseboat.
It's fun.
I could fucking smuggle weed. I could live in a lighthouse. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. But that is the whole thing. I think if you get divorced when you're a dad, I would say this: you're not only divorcing your wife, you're divorcing your kids. Don't try to be a weekend guy. Just come back and see them when they're 18. Hey, don't.
Chris is like, really?
Don't be the kind of dad that tries to take your kids on bumper cars. No child wants to hang out with their dad when they're 12. They'd rather see you in another 6 years.
Yeah, I agree.
You know how many times I went on a roller coaster or played miniature golf with my dad? 0, because he stayed. And that gave him the right to yell at me and do everything else. He didn't feel like he had to say, hey, buddy, what are we doing, huh? What do you want to do this weekend? No, hang out with my friends, Dad. Like other people my age. But then who wanted a stepdad very bad is Dan Soder. Yeah. And he used to go looking for stepdads with his mom.
Yes.
That's the saddest thing ever.
Yeah.
When he says he was he would put on a good face when he would meet the new boyfriend. Are you going to be my? Yeah. Are you going to be my future
one? He
dad?
got really annoyed at his mom because she broke up with one guy, and he just was like, "Why'd you break up?"
I was the opposite. I feel like I didn't mean to do it, but not everyone, but when I was a kid, at least 3 of her boyfriends cited the main reason they couldn't continue on with her was because of me. Your fucking annoying kid and his dumb dad. That's not going to be my life, Lynn.
Your dad was kind of a scary dude.
Yeah, well,
right?
my dad would just come around and he'd want to meet him. He'd be like, I just need to talk to you because you're going to be around my son. Need to ask you a few questions. They would just be like, who's your favorite baseball team? They'd be like, Mets. He'd be like, fuck you. You're done. Yankees in this house. And my dad hated all my mom's boyfriends, but.
So, I guess it kind of meant that he still liked your mom, though, right?
Sure, but my dad's been remarried for 30 years, so who knows where my dad's head's at.
Yeah, well, sometimes you want more than one. Nobody realizes,
Yeah.
That, how many things do you just want one of?
Not many.
It'd be better if you could just have a couple. At different places.
The Mormons do it right.
Yes, in their own weird way they do, except for the underwear. That scares me. We got to wrap this up. Good to see you. I'm glad you're hanging out with Opie today.
Thank you.
Dan St. Germain's been in the studio. Dan will be at the Big Hunt Comedy Club in Washington, D.C. tomorrow, Friday, May 19th and Saturday, May 20th. Go to undergroundcomedydc.com for tickets. And Dan will be performing at the Turnbuckle Comedy Festival next Friday, May 26th in Iowa. Go to codfishhollowbarnstormers.com. And Chris Stefano's going to be at Hyenas Comedy Club in Texas, Plano, Texas, June 1st, and Dallas, Texas, June 2nd and 3rd. Go to hyenascomedynightclub.com for tickets.
All right, we'll see you guys again in 1974.
Ladies and gentlemen, the evening is over. We hope you all enjoyed yourselves, and we'll see you all again in 1974. Good evening!